So we had a show planned last week, but we changed things up a bit. That's NTS code for Mike and I got into an argument about who's better, Andy Williams or Burl Ives. And let me tell you, shit got real. So we trashed that outline and decided to hit Christmas head on with some special guests. Besides, we all know Andy Williams is way better than Burl Ives. So tonight we got the guys from the Chuck and Brad podcast sitting in with us to talk a little Christmas and have a whole lot of fun. So Maestro, let's get this show on the road and hit that music. Hello, welcome back to Needless to Say. I'm Craig. I'm here with Mike and Brad and Chuck. That's right. We got the guys from the Brad and Chuck podcast here. So tonight should be fun, but we'll get into that in a minute because we're going to see, Mike, how was your week this week?
Oh, it wasn't bad.
It's Tuesday.
Just like everything else. Yeah, just like everything else.
Yeah.
Some work. Again, happy to have you guys on big time. That was awesome. That's awesome.
Yep.
And it's getting close to shopping season again.
Yeah.
For me, anyway, which is like the day before
Christmas.
Christmas.
Before Christmas, yeah.
So,
exactly.
But other than that,
yeah, it was kind of a short week, so we didn't do much.
The listeners, it's a really long one because we just decided to say fuck it till last week. And
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Well, we had a lot going on. I got a new dog last week.
Oh, nice.
I got another one. Nice. So that, and then I went to the Vikings game on Sunday, the Vikings-Pats game, and that sucked. And I'm a Vikings fan, so. But yeah, and then finally we got you guys on here.
How's the dog working out?
Great.
I don't think you realize this, but I drive past your house playing Sarah McLachlan, and you seem to keep getting new dogs, so it just works out really well.
That's what's going on. But Brad's getting a new house.
Well, that's the
how's
plan.
How's that going?
Oh, yeah?
We're looking like December 12th.
Nice.
So what a way to tell the kids, hey, guess what? You know all those fun Christmas decorations? You ain't getting them this year. It's going to be really exciting to not decorate and then eventually not undecorate.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm allowed to jump in on this, but like, how close are you with this house situation? Did you already buy it? You're setting a closing date?
Well, they've got all my money. Okay. That's what you're asking. I decided to take Craig's buying tips. If you listen to the show, Craig bought a car and then decided to leave it there for 3 weeks and then eventually claim the car as his own after 2 payments.
Yeah.
This is kind of where I'm at now. I actually just found out that I have to give them another $1,300 just because they allowed me a little more time to move in.
Oh,
so I made a rent payment on top of a mortgage payment. Yeah, really exciting. But it's a great house. It would have looked great at Christmas, and in 2019, we're going to know for sure.
That's okay. That's okay.
But yeah, so we got the guys from Chuck and Brad.
Yeah, hell yeah, man.
Psyched to have you guys down here, man.
Dude,
fired up.
I'm happy to be on. I'm Chuck.
I'm Brad.
Yeah, we do the Chuck and Brad podcast, and we're happy to be on. Yeah. I love the community of podcasters around the area because there's actually a lot.
Yeah, there is,
and
a lot more than I thought.
I want to promote like everyone working together all the time, like so that it's like comfortable to be like, hey man, we're doing this thing tonight. You want to come on? And just like texting each other and getting people on because I think that it's fun, and I think it's cool because it's going to just kind of promote people being open to listening to everyone else's podcast and giving other ones a chance and stuff like that. And so I think it's super positive, and I'm glad you guys wanted to have us on.
Well, it's funny because we've been doing it for what, 18 months now?
Yeah.
Right.
And you guys have been doing it for, you're on like 380 something right now.
10-year anniversary in January. Fucked up.
Yeah.
That's fucked insane. Up, right?
But the funny part was so how I met Chuck was just an odd situation. I've talked about telling Steve Dave on here before because I love the show.
Yes, the podcast.
Kind of was one of the inspirations for us to do this anyway. Mm-hmm. And one day I'm listening to the show and Chuck comes on and Chuck tells this story.
I got arrested for my enema.
Yeah.
My public enema. You won't get arrested for doing an enema in the privacy of your own home.
No.
In front of a high school during the day.
Possible.
You will. It could happen.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a true life story.
Yeah.
I'm something to aspire to.
But when he was describing the story and the way he was saying it, I'm like, oh shit! I knew he said he was from Rhode Island, but then I'm like, he's describing Warren.
Yeah.
You know, and I was.
I'm like a wordsmith. That's how even though I tell a story without naming the town, I could just describe a lamppost, and Craig will listen and be like, "Oh, that's the one at the end of Main Street."
It's just like Craig too, because he paints verbal pictures.
Yeah. There you go. See,
But it was just funny. It was just the way it happened. So then I was like, all right, like a creepy motherfucker. I'm like, I'm gonna contact him because now I know who he is. You know? So I did, and we started talking back and forth, and talking about Tom, Steve, Dave, and stuff. And then it was like a week or so went by, and I'm leaving my house, and I look, and I'm like, that's Chuck. And I'm like, we're neighbors.
Yep.
And we've been neighbors. I've been living there for 17 years.
Yeah, I mean, I bought the house I closed in December, just like you, of 2011.
So, yeah.
So I moved in January of 2000. Well, you know what? Here's what happened. It was 2011. Then we worked on it from January to April. So I moved in April of 2012 into that house on Main Street in Warren.
So it was just funny. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, oh,
That's real.
So you saw all my house fire horse shit. Right?
Yeah.
So I got a house fire in 2015 in November. Yeah, and it was like...
Oh, wait, you're that guy?
Yeah.
Do me a favor. Don't listen to episode 5.
So I had, my house fire.
I like to think episode 5 is you guys talking about this arson you just committed. You'll never catch us.
That's how I took the joke. Yeah, that's how I took it. So... But yeah, so I had the house fire in that house, and like the whole inside collapse and everything like that. It was crazy. It was the whole house was torn down on the inside, the entire thing down to studs, and I remodeled the entire house. I was out for 14 months, then I moved back in January of 2016,
17?
January 2017. That's right. Yeah, because I've been there for like a little bit, almost 2 years. So you saw all that from the outside.
Yeah.
So you saw the house fire and the fire trucks. It was crazy.
Yeah.
The smoke was pouring out of the top.
Yep.
I was there. It was nuts.
I've been through a house fire myself.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
I lived in an apartment.
Yeah.
But I lost everything I owned.
Oh my God. Did you have renter's insurance?
Nope. Oh. Nope. I was like 21.
Dude,
so
no one
I had
knows
beer
about
insurance.
The truth is like when you buy a house, maybe you're dealing with this. People kind of push you through, and they're like, sign this, do this, sign this, right? And so you're legally required to have homeowners insurance.
Yeah. Yep.
So I had homeowners insurance, but like if I was renting, I don't even know if I would know about renters insurance. Yeah. It's not something that people generally know about.
I think because I've been renting for 8 years, it was pitched to me like by the realty agent when I moved in, and I'm like, nah. Yeah. And then after Chuck's fire, I'm like, I would like.
By the way,
call them up right away.
By the way, renter's insurance is like nothing. Cheap. If you're listening to this, renter's insurance costs absolutely fucking nothing.
It is cheap. Yeah.
How much is it for you?
I don't even know. Honestly,
it was like you told me it was like $130 a year, something like that. Right?
It's more than that. It's probably in the area of $20 to $30 a month, but. It
That's
covers
nothing.
literally all of my possessions.
If you know what everybody at this table spends $20 on,
well, finding out
that, like, 1/4 of a blowjob.
All right,
big spender.
I was going to say put that in the show notes now. Chuck likes really bad blowjob.
That's all I need. No.
I'll just say on renter's insurance, like if I put my laptop in my car and somebody breaks into my car and steals my laptop, I can claim that under renter's insurance.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people don't know about
I
that.
had no idea.
You could drive to New York and have a guitar in the back of your car. And if someone steals out of your car, your renter's insurance.
Wow, that's the biggest thing. I mean, like I said, I was 21, so the couch that I found on the side of the road 2 months prior, I really didn't need that covered. You know? But at the time, but I lost like my entire comic book collection, which was devastating because that was my original comic book collection.
Yeah. Oh my God!
And a lot of my Star Wars stuff got
Dude,
ruined.
you want to hear something
like that?
bizarre?
Like a lot of my collectibles.
All right, so my house, I had the best house fire ever. Here's why. Because in terms of the actual what's going to happen when you have a house fire, I did have the best circumstance because what happened was all my stuff was destroyed by smoke damage.
Yeah.
But it actually wasn't destroyed by fire. So what happens is sometimes in a fire you could have like, let's say, an expensive camera, guitar, comic book, and that thing is absolutely destroyed and there's no evidence that exists. All of my stuff was actually still there. So when I say to the insurance company, I had a Nintendo 64, I actually have the Nintendo 64 to show them. So they went through the house and they could see it. So it was actually good because it wasn't like gone and I'm maybe making it up and they have to take my word on it and have to decide on things. comic book collection. I had 600 comic books, including like the entire run of Marvel Zombies, like stuff that I care about. Some stuff is expensive, some stuff wasn't. And because they were, every single comic was in a plastic bag, taped over, in a box, in a closet, 100% of my comics made it through.
Wow.
Oh, man.
I will say this. I don't know if I can get in trouble for this. They paid me for all of them. But I went through, and I went through. I mean, you know what? Maybe I can't get in trouble because technically I'm deciding to live with whatever damage they had.
Whatever damage.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
But I took them all out, and I kept them all. And my comic book collection made it through. But what's weird is they told me up front that they would not cover my comic book collection under normal homeowners insurance. They said if you have a collection of something that's expensive,
you have to get
special insurance. Right. But I was like, but the comics I collect are not like Action Comics #1. It's not collectible stuff. Yeah. It's just bullshit that I like.
Right.
And maybe because of that. But there was stuff where like they went through. Actually, one of the most interesting things I own is this spreadsheet of everything they found in my house. It's 4,000 items that they went through.
All receipts for bad blowjobs.
There was a dildo in there. They had a
dildo. We actually have one here.
Claim it. Claim that dildo. No, but it's a big binder. It's 4,000 items that they went through in my house, and someone individually looked up how much each item cost and ascribed the percentage, a value, and gave it to me. And they have all my comics one by one. Every single comic I had.
Get out of here, one by one.
And one of them was Venom Deadpool, the one where Deadpool gets the Venom symbiote. This is way before the Deadpool movie came out, or maybe before the Deadpool movie came out, probably. Yeah. And that one was like, they paid me like $130 for it, even though I got it for like $2 somewhere. I just picked it up because I like Venom.
That's Chuck Staten, Main Street in Warren.
You can steal one Venom Deadpool. But yeah, that fucking.
Nah, it sucks.
That you know what? It was really, really damaging to watch my house be like on fire. I went to
go on.
We were at me and Brad and my girlfriend Gina had gone to the Peanuts reboot, and it's
the kind of thing you do.
If you were just home with the fire extinguisher,
and I came home and like the whole street was blocked off, which happens sometimes because they work on the street over there.
Yeah. And
I'm like, hey, I just need to get home because I just tell the cops and they let me go because I live on the street. And he's like, what house do you live in? And I'm like, this is the same cop that arrested me for my enema. And I was like, I goes, 228. He goes, dude, your house is on fire. And I'm like, what? I'm like, is it bad? And he goes, everything's gone.
No, man.
And I ran over and...
Meanwhile, I was at home making a list of all the ways I'm like Charlie Brown. I was awake for hours.
I wish you were making a list of all the times that you've been accused in print of looking like Charlie Brown, because that did happen one time.
It's true. There's an article in like the Cranston paper about how I look, and I quote, alarmingly like good old Charlie Brown.
You hated that?
Wow. Oh, I still hate it.
So I go to my house and everything's on fire, and it was weird to see my house on fire.
Yes.
I mean, it's what's creepier was the inside of the house because it was just fucking demolished, and it's basically
everything's soaking wet.
It's almost like a hell version of your house. Like, you know how Stranger Things, they go to the upside down?
Yeah.
It's just like that, actually, now that I think about
Except wet.
Well, there was actually, the black really particles that float? That was actually in the house because it's like, stuff. And I'll say this, it's weird. Like, at first I was like bummed and disturbed. And then that weekend I had a meeting with my insurance guy, and he's like, listen, you're going to be fine. They're going to rebuild your house, and they're going to basically pay for everything. Like, you're not really going to end up having lost anything. You're going to be fine. You might even be better off. And honestly, I was like, whatever. And it was not a big deal. Yeah. And it was, it was a real positive thing for my own knowledge that I'm not super dependent on possessions.
Yep.
Because in my head, I'm like, man, I do have a lot of Blu-rays, and I have a lot of video games, and I have all these different things, collectibles and comics and stuff. And I have thought about do I like this stuff too much? Is it too important to me? And when everything got destroyed, I was like, who gives a shit? And it was awesome. Yeah. And I was it's good that I feel that way. That's all.
Yeah,
it's just good that I know that it's not going to affect me that much.
Yeah, my wife would be
right away.
Yeah.
My wife would be like, fuck. he's gonna buy it all again.
I tried not to.
Probably for the first week or two, Chuck was like, "Look, this sucks. This is terrible. But at some point, this is going to be a thing that happened to me."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've never had that attitude toward anything. and to see him, kind of lose everything. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, well now I need to be aware. First of all, I need to get renter's insurance. Secondly, I need to kind of be aware of what my attachment to items, to possessions, to stuff is, and maybe reevaluate my relationship.
I'm really attached to everything.
Yeah. You know what? You know what though? I thought that, and then I was fine. It wasn't a big deal. You know what I mean? And I don't know. It wasn't a big deal overall. Like I got to rebuild my house, and my house was built in like 1892 or something. And so my house is now like, it's brand new. It's an open floor plan.
Modern, yeah.
So you got basically like a fresh start.
Exactly. It was a brand new house. You know what I mean? So that was positive.
Look at Mike.
Hey, you gotta look on the bright side, man. You know?
It's weird because I almost feel guilty saying this, but in terms of looking back of would I rather have it happened or have it not, rather have it happened. Because it was way better. And it's weird because you start getting stuff when you're like 15 or 16 as an adult that stays with you. And what happens is, I had this old purple acoustic guitar that I liked when I got it. And then I wanted to get a better guitar. And I went to Guitar Center to trade it in. And they're like, we'll give you $50. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to keep it. But now it's just a guitar that sits there because it's not worth enough to sell. Right. I'm not going to throw out a guitar. And so there was so much stuff in my life and everybody's life that was like that. And it was almost like God was like, hey, listen, I'll give you the money back for this stuff. And you decide if you want it. And that's what happened when they went through my possessions. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be a little bit more adult, a little bit more, and by the way, little bit, very 2% more adult.
Yeah, true. We definitely did an episode of our podcast where all he talked about was how excited he was about the new DuckTales figures.
That was recent. They're awesome though. They're great.
They're like in the same breath as crown molding.
Exactly. But that's what it was. I got to build my house, so I cared about stuff like that, just design and how the house feels. And it ended up better just for that reason that the house is a new house now. And I did get a fresh start in terms of having the weight of the possessions of my life over. And I think overall it was positive. I mean, I lived in, I moved 6 times during that time, that's a lot to do. Not so bad if you don't have any possessions, though.
Yeah. Just throw your backpack and show I'm going. Just got a bindle walking down the street. Going to the next spot.
I did start buying a couple things right away, like an Xbox and a laptop to just work on and stuff. But but I didn't have much when I was moving around. And we lived in Providence at Regency Plaza for 7 months, and that was really, really nice. We had a great apartment up there that the insurance company just put us up in,
Yeah.
So I think that it was overall positive, actually, to be completely honest.
Pretty good.
Yeah. I got to say, I mean, you ever watched a movie and it's 40 minutes go by before the opening credits happen? That's kind of how I feel right now. So I figured we might as well jump right in, try to pull these guys out of their shells a little bit.
I want to know more about your house situation, though. So I'm happy for you.
That's
man.
segment 4.
Are we going to talk about it?
No, but all right. But I figured we got guests. We don't normally have guests, so I figured we make the most of this tonight.
Yeah.
I mean, not that everybody doesn't pretty much know you already, but let's meet Chuck and Brad.
Yeah.
And first of all, I don't share space with another Brad too often.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is weird. Which one of us is the
good-looking
good-looking one?
Different, though.
Yeah. Well, which one is good and which one's funny?
You're both of them. I know what I am.
All right, but you've got a celebrity lookalike.
Charlie Brown.
That's it.
The two Brad thing. It's funny. I realized I was like, I don't know any other Brads.
Yeah.
And then became friends with you on Facebook, and I was like, this has caused a fucking problem already. Because I sent you after the show. I had sent you a thing that said great show.
Yep.
And it was awesome. And then I went to send to Brad. Last night was a great show, man, and it kind of inspired us, to think of, because what you guys did, take the way you took
our live show at the Comedy Connection.
We're like, there's so much more you can do with what we with
conversation and the game of relationships.
I was like, wow, I was kind of inspired with that, and I sent it to him.
Yep.
And then he's like, yeah, man. He's like, that's cool, and I'm like, fuck, I'll just go with it.
That's great. I support it.
Yeah, no, he did. He was very supportive of it and stuff, which was awesome, actually. It made me feel good. So
let's say we're all lucky that you actually liked it, because otherwise you guys are like, I went to this fucking show last night.
I had to tell him I liked it.
I went to this whole thing. I was inspired.
Charlie Brown looking motherfucker. That Charlie Brown looking motherfucker.
Having multiple Brads, a couple years ago I started going to a new church up in Providence, and there's a guy who goes there. His name is Brad, and
Hertzlick?
Yeah, and so I'm like, well, we have last names. People can just use last names, and they were like, nope. And I'm like, well, you can't call him Old Brad because I'm like 16 years older than him. Yeah. So you can't really call one of us Old Brad and New Brad. And I'm like, he's way more handsome than me, and I hope it doesn't become about that. Handsome Brad.
Do you remember my nickname for him?
I do eventually. But he graduated from Brown University. I graduated from Bradley University. And so it was Brown grad Brad and Bradley grad Brad.
Let me answer this, man. My mother's maiden name, because she was feeling so creative way back in the late 70s, her maiden name is Bradley.
Wow.
This just never ends.
Well, you're the youngest, right?
I'm the middle.
Oh, you're the middle? Yeah. Oh, because I thought you were the youngest. And I was thinking by the time they got to you, they were like, fuck it.
Yeah, they were.
Because it's just Brad on your birth certificate.
It's just Brad. She decided that was the ounce
If
of
you guys want
creativity.
to call me Bradley for the duration of this episode, that's fine.
I like calling him Bradley. The other Brad that went to his church, his name is Brad Hertzlick. He was a good guy. But when I first met him, he had like curly hair that was short, and it was pulled back, and he had sunglasses on top of his head. So my nickname for him was Surfer Douche Brad. And I called him that for our whole relationship. Surfer Douche. Sometimes SDB, just to keep it casual.
That's awesome.
SDB is good for services. All right, fellas. So let's talk a little bit. I mean, who you are. I think we got a pretty good idea. You guys are, quick with the joke. You do on-stage comedy. You've got backgrounds in stand-up. You've got backgrounds in improv, and you've got obviously radio and TV production. So why don't you introduce yourselves again? Let us know who you are and what you're all about and why we should care.
Okay, so I don't know if you should care, but
the last part is tough.
So I'm Chuck, and basically, honestly, I started a punk band called Senior Discount many years ago, and that kind of led me into like the arts world of stuff. And after a while, we were doing the band for a long time, and I went to school for film because I just loved film, and we started incorporating film stuff into the band. And so when we'd have like concerts or albums, we would do like short videos to promote it. And it's funny because this was like before YouTube was popular.
And you did like
we started in
the
2004.
like pranks and shit like
so
that.
So we got
which
into
was funny,
pranks, like big prank stuff. And we did like a big documentary about the band with like a bunch of prank stuff in it, and it was pretty crazy. That's where I got arrested for my enema. That was part of it. That was part of our music. And but we started actually we were doing prank stuff as well as like sitcom videos, like legitimate like 25-minute long episodes of a sitcom about the band.
Yeah.
Like, we'd have a show at Club Hell in Providence, and we'd have like a storyline where the last time we were there, we started a fire on stage, so we needed a letter from a fire marshal to say we could play. And it would be like a storyline about the band that we'd write all these scenes for. And I saw Brad doing improv with our bassist at the time, and I was like, oh, like we're so obscene. Like we do these fucking gross things that I get arrested for. We do these awful pranks. We're a punk rock band, and we're we a lot of screaming and energetic shows and stuff. Brad is so like conservative and like uptight. Like what a perfect guy. So we brought him in fictionally as a character called Bradley Stevenson, and he was the head of the Rhode Island League of Decency.
Also fictional.
And the idea was that he was trying to shut down Senior Discount in the videos, in the fictional world of videos, to the point where like we dressed you up as him, as the character, and we played a show with the band Leftover Crack, which I love. It's a punk band, like a real, squatting, heroin-loving punk band. That's like, they're like offensive on purpose. Like one of their albums is just called Fuck World Trade, and like they're just like a real punk rock band. Like I love Blink-182, like that's the band that like started us, and I love pop punk and stuff like that. But like I also love like real punk rock. So we were playing with Leftover Crack, and it was a very packed, very energetic show at Club Hell, and Brad came dressed as Bradley Stevenson as the head of the Rhode Island League of Decency, and he was passing out flyers for the Rhode Island League of Decency.
No.
That were like
Great
stop
idea.
senior discount, like stuff like
Really?
that. And someone took one of the flyers and grabbed it from you and ate it, right?
Yeah. It was a unique experience.
But we brought him in to do to write with us and to be in the videos.
Yep.
Then as we were redoing the podcast website in 2009,
The band's website.
the band's website in 2009, we had talked about podcasting.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, like, what could we do in the website to bring people back once in a while? And I was like, you know, we were both like, let's start a podcast. And we started the podcast because of that. And that kind of has turned into a bigger thing than we expected, I think, in terms of, you know, now I do a lot more podcast stuff than even band stuff sometimes. Yeah. And it's, you know, it's evolved into live shows. We were doing live podcasts until we realized that no one knows what a live podcast is. So now we just do live comedy shows at the Comedy Connection. Yeah. The film work has blossomed, and now I work with Tell 'em Steve Dave, that podcast, all the time. That's like my main job now, is doing film work for them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
And doing good stuff, too.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely.
I appreciate that. It's great.
I'm enjoying it. So.
Yeah, it's a lot of crazy, interesting stuff. Yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of my journey in like a very small package.
Sorry.
No.
For me, in the late 90s / early 2000s, I was taking improv at Improv Olympic in Chicago, which has since been renamed to IO. And basically there's like 6 levels of classes. And so I went through levels 1 through 6, and I wasn't good enough to like be put on a regularly performing team. I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself, and would like intentionally wait to be the last person to go up on stage and be a part of the show. And so they're like, nope, you know, you didn't make the team this time. You maybe retake a class. So I retook a class, and that list came out of like new people on teams, and I still wasn't on a team. And I'm like, all right, well, I quit. Like I've given them so much of my money. It's like an hour and 10-minute commute each way, like through like across Lakeshore Drive traffic. And it's just not worth it at this point. But then when I was going on grad school interviews in 2004, people were like, oh, what do you do in your free time? And I'm like, improv comedy. Because I needed something. I needed a hook. And I ended up at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. Not a huge comedy scene in Fayetteville. But
hilarious.
Yes. Yeah. But I'm like, you know, I can coast on this. Nobody's asking me to do improv. I did like we hosted an Iron Chef event, like local to just the campus, so student chefs and everything. And I was one of the co-hosts of that, and I was good at it. Yeah. And that felt good. And so I got a job at UMass Dartmouth, and our Women's Center director was like, hey, there's this improv group in Newport. Do you want to go audition with me? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Let's go. And then she backed out. So I went by myself, and it was like a new group of people who had never improvised before. And like the group had been around for about 6 months at that point. And so I came in with, you know, over a year of training, and I seemed great. And so because of that, I got more and more stage time. And because I got to do more work, I just got better and better. Yeah. And then, you know, like Chuck said, we met through that. We did a sketch show at one point. And then I had been writing a blog, and he had been writing a blog, and we're like, all right, instead of writing these things down for like 6 people to read, let's do the podcast, and for all the reasons you mentioned. And man, it's been crazy, like the opportunities it's afforded us. And so,
I mean, you guys were moderating panels at Rhode Island Comic Con this year.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. I mean, you're working with Tell 'em Steve Dave, which is, I mean, for people that don't know who it is, that's the guys that Q from Impractical Jokers, Brian Johnson, Walt Flanagan from Comic Book Man, and, you know, from the Kevin Smith movies. You've seen him in Kevin Smith movies and stuff like that.
He's one of the reasons I'm late tonight.
Oh, really?
It's not actually his fault. It's kind of more my fault. I wanted to come in with an apology box of donuts, which I did.
You did.
Please partake in the donuts, please. I'm not gonna. I want them just for you guys. I feel bad that I was late.
No, it's not a problem.
So basically, like we record every Tuesday night, and this is Tuesday night. And when you guys said like when can you record, I say Tuesday because I'd rather have our Tuesday that's already set aside to podcast. That night, I know we can schedule that night, and then we can move our own podcast around. Maybe we'll do it afterwards, maybe we'll do it beforehand, whatever. But this is actually the one day a week I also work in my day job. I do, you know, film work most of the time, but I keep in my day job just in case because I don't know how steady this film work is going to be. Yeah. So I work today.
Wait, did you say one day a week?
Well, because I do film work all the time.
I was going to say you got the same career counselor as Mike.
No, I do.
I tell Jim I said hi, huh?
Yeah. No, I do. I do the film work out of my own house. So it's like, I go to Jersey and I'll film with the guys for a little bit, and then I'll take the work home, and then I'll edit for months and stuff and release videos. Basically, we're scheduled out until April right now. And so there's 7 videos, and of the 7, I think 5 are already filmed, and I'm going to edit from consistently.
Putting them together.
And so I work for them. I probably work for Tell 'em Steve Dave 25 hours a week. That's been basically the average. Then I do the podcast and the band and our live shows. And then I work 1 day a week at a landscaping company as an accountant. And I write for Providence Monthly.
I was just going to say, you write for a magazine.
Yeah.
Right?
So I only work 1 day a week at my day job. But so I was rushing to get out tonight, and you said to me during the day, you're like, oh, you want to push it back till 8:30? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And I was like, oh, let's podcast before that. We'll meet up around 7, whatever. And I was like rushing to get home, and I got home, and my buddy, who is the manager of Blount Clam Shack, had come to my house and left me like all these clam cakes and all this new biscuit chowder. They have a new chowder that's way better.
Really?
New biscuits, way better. Has claws in it. And I was like, holy shit. I'm like, it would be rude not to eat this right now. So I started eating it.
I got to watch him eat it.
And then we're podcasting, and I'm like, all right, we'll be able to do this. This will be fine. It's like 7:30, whatever.
Yeah.
And then like 25 minutes of the podcast, Brian calls me, Brian Johnson.
Yeah.
And I just got him a Christmas gift of this Jaws skateboard that he's been talking about.
He's been talking about that on the
for
podcast for years. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm going to get it
You
for
got
him.
it for him?
So I got it for him.
Oh, shit.
And I had
That's
it sent
awesome.
I had it sent to the stash. And I saw him calling me, so I knew he got it. And I'm like, I have to answer this phone call while we were podcasting. And I'm like, hello. And he's like, dude, I just got the skateboard. So we were talking about it. And then he was like, I have this video idea. And he was going to call me this weekend about it. And he didn't. So he told me about that. So that set us back like another 15 minutes. So it's the chowder. And then Brian called me. And then I'm like, oh, God, we're running so far behind. And I was getting all these text messages. But that's why I was late. Is those 2 things, the chowder and the Jaws skateboard.
Like you mentioned, you got a lot of things going. You got a lot of things going constantly, so you constantly get stuff.
That's the thing. It's been really, really difficult to balance it, but I'm trying to figure out how to get on top of it. I'm thinking about renting an office space because I think if I get out of my house for editing,
it's easier.
I might be a little bit more productive during the day because like what'll happen is like no matter what time you put in, like however long it takes is how long it takes. So sometimes I'm up until 6:45 in the morning to finish an edit by a deadline or whatever for a couple of days. Because like I'll start it during a day on a Thursday. I'll be like, there's no one here today at my house. I'll work on it for 8 hours. I'll work on it. Then I work on it for 3 hours. Then I have to like export something. And I'm like, all right, I got to wait for this for 15 minutes. I'll go start doing laundry. I'll go start doing this. And then I start cleaning. I'm like, oh, that's right. I was supposed to pay the oil bill. I go do this.
Yeah.
I go do this. I go do this.
You get
I start doing home shit when I'm supposed to be working. And so it's very hard to separate the two. So I'm thinking about getting an office because if I go there for 8 hours, I think I'll just stay and do the work.
You won't.
As opposed to
Brad works from home.
I've worked from home for a decade now.
Yeah, you have the same problem?
Same problems.
Oh yeah,
Same.
right?
You're like my spirit animal.
Right? And it's like my girlfriend. Are you married?
Yes.
So like your wife is home unexpectedly, and she's like, you know what, we should get this done right now, and you're like, you know what, we should get that done right now. So you do that instead, and there's always like.
Do you know what's even worse when my kids come home expectedly?
Yeah.
That's a great phrase. Great turn of phrase.
It's exactly what it is, where it's just difficult to really carve out the time. Where if you were in a physical location that was somewhere else, that wouldn't happen.
I thought that way, but then I realized that I would just be losing my weekends to accomplish all the stuff that I wasn't doing at home.
That's true.
See, it's all, you can't gain or lose time. It's just a matter of how you allocate it. So.
That's true. That's true. But when my girlfriend comes home and she's like, I thought we could do this today, and I thought we could do this. If I'm not home when she says that, then I don't have to feel bad. When
right,
You
exactly.
know what I mean?
Just marry her, and the expectations go right out the window.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. This is true.
The other problem is that like my girlfriend will go to bed and it'll be like 11:45, let's say, and I know I'll be up until like 2:33. Yep. I'll feel guilty about not working on something if I know there's something to do if I'm doing it in my house. So I'll just work until 3 a.m. And I don't leave myself any like leisure time. So I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to get on top of it. All this film work. I've been working with Tell 'em Steve Dave for 2 years, but the amount of work over the last like 3 months because of the Patreon that they started has been like crazy. Like it's been 25 hours a week every single week since then at least. And that's not including me driving there and staying over and filming and stuff.
But you're also meeting a lot of different people through this too. Yeah. You're making good contacts through it.
Yes,
and stuff,
Dude,
which is awesome.
If it was up to me, like I hope that I continue to work with Tell 'em Steve Dave like for good with these bizarre projects because they've carved out this fan base that loves them so much and trusts them so much that like they're like, oh, we want to do a live podcast. It's like, oh, that makes sense for a popular podcast. They're like, we want to do a game show. It's like, okay. Like, we want to do a CGI like Space Ghost Coast to Coast thing. We want to do a Christmas thing. We want to do this like we want to do a parody of the 70s football documentaries, the NFL documentaries. All that stuff they want to do, they put me in charge of it. We've done all that stuff. They put me in charge of it, and we just fucking figure it out together. And people that like the show watch it and give feedback, and it's super positive. But they have this great loyal fan base because they've done so much great stuff. I'd love to keep working with them, for good. I hope it's a relationship that just continues and continues.
Yeah, I think because everything you've put out so far has been great. I've enjoyed all of it because I've watched it all.
I appreciate it.
And it's cool, and it's funny because like I was thinking this the other day, like Kevin Smith. This is a guy who made it into show business by maxing out every credit card he had, selling everything he owned to make Clerks, and putting it out there, and then now look where he is. And look what he's doing now.
Took that step.
And I heard you tell a story about the first time you filmed for them. They called you and said, "Will you film for us?" And they wanted to do like a 3-camera thing.
Well, it was just me. I thought it was appropriate, so I was like, I gotta get it. I gotta do this right.
So you went and bought all the equipment, ran up there, filmed it, and then returned it all at the store.
It was $2,500 of equipment that I had to buy. It was after the house
fire.
fire.
It again, spirit animal.
We had a big discussion because Best Buy was like, whatever place he bought it from was like, you have 45 days to return. And I'm like, Chuck, is this day 45? Do they count the first day? He's like, we're returning this. I'm like,
I returned it on day 45.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, it was that day. Yeah. And it was like lugging it all in. Like, it was crazy.
Oh, my God.
It was all scratched up. It was still warm from being used.
Gotta get it done,
There's
man.
still an SD card of us in the car on the way. We're going to buy it again.
Yeah. So it's a funny ride. I love being involved in that stuff, though. I really appreciate the opportunity, and it's cool because it didn't exist. I don't think they didn't want film projects. They weren't like looking for film projects. They were just doing a couple live shows, which they almost never do because Walt hates doing live stuff.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to do it at all. And I just kept reaching out and saying, "Hey, I've been doing this stuff. Let me come film you guys." People were flying in from other countries to go to these shows because they do them so rarely. And I was like, dude, you guys should be filming this. People want to see this. And especially if you're not going to do live shows anymore or you're not going to continually, let me film it. And they did. And it kind of just came from me really maxing out what the final product could be and doing my best and trying to making it better than anything I've done before. And so I think that led them in the direction of doing video content. And it wasn't even remotely on the table as something they were interested in before that, which feels good. Yeah. And I hope I get to keep doing it. I don't know. You never know. That's the other thing. I'm working in new media. I'm depending on Patreon for Tell 'em Steve Dave to employ me for this thing. And it's so new. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. 6 months ago, if someone's like, hey, do you think you'll ever be like working from Patreon? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know what I mean?
Is Patreon?
Yeah. So it's like, I try not to think of it as a consistent gig, even though we're planned out until April. I try to think of it as like, I hope this goes for as long as possible. Not only for me, but for Brian and Walt and Quinn, for all of them, because it's such a great way for them to, for the community of people that love them, to give back to them and to support this consistent work they're doing. So
do you know what Patreon does too that I love? And it's kind of a double-edged sword, because if you don't have a big enough following and you start asking for money, might as well just wrap it up. Because everybody's going to look at you, with negative eyes. Like, you're not begging, but what have you done? But the one thing it does for a good show and an established show is it adds value.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it's really an interesting thing, because you can do like, I want people to pledge $1 or something, or you can do $2 and an extra episode for whatever, and you get to just dictate the terms no matter who you are, which I think is what's really cool. And Tell 'em Steve Dave, they're doing it really well. And I know there's a lot of other like people that are, people making their own podcasts, making their own videos that are doing really well off it because they just produce great content.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
Exactly.
That's great.
We got to start doing that. Well,
producing great content?
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Everybody at this table, they all 5 sets of eyes.
That's exactly what I meant.
Well, let's get into some good content.
Let's get into some, because you just finished filming and it was released, the Christmas episode of Tell 'em Steve Dave, which was good.
Yes.
Because Christmas is coming up.
Yeah.
And we got some Christmas questions.
Oh my God, I love Christmas.
Let's preface. We asked these guys offline, hey, what do you guys want to talk about? We realized that, other than having a podcast and Craig and Chuck having like 15 feet between them. Yeah. and not even knowing. Seriously, you never got the fucking mail? But they were like, Christmas. Let's talk about Christmas. And I figured, you know what? A bunch of guys who love pop culture and love comics and movies and all the things that everybody tells us is bad and is really good. Like we all get off on that. So we figured let's just take all these little goofy ideas and put them into one show.
Do you guys all love Christmas?
Oh, I do. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm making jokes about it tonight because I'm actually really sad. I'm not really getting the whole vibe because I don't have a tree up because we're moving.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Brad hates every other holiday in the world. Fucking hates them all.
Yeah,
right?
everyone.
But when it comes to Christmas,
Maybe there's something in the name Brad. I'm with you.
Yeah. Brad rearranged all the Christmas holidays.
It was last year's Thanksgiving episode. Check it out. Last 25 minutes. I'm begging you.
Yeah. He rearranges all the holidays.
In order of
like spreading them out, spacing them out perfectly throughout the whole year, and what they should entail, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah,
it's the greatest idea ever.
I took Christmas in because everybody, when you think of Christmas, what do you think about other than presents?
Tree
and
snow,
right? So winter's only 4 days old when Christmas happens.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
How much snow are you really getting? I've seen 65-degree oddball Christmases. However, mid-January, you're almost guaranteed that snow.
Yeah.
And winter is so goddamn dismal from Christmas forward.
I know.
Or New Year's forward. I'll be diplomatic.
Sure.
But, why not move that to February?
I agree.
And get rid of Valentine's Day and put February 25th as Christmas. That way you get to warm up all of winter. You thaw it. Thanksgiving gets to stand on its own. New Year's gets to stand on its own. And then from New Year's forward, everybody puts their lights up. You have a tree.
Yeah, no doubt.
You hear songs. And then do you know what happens a few weeks after Christmas? Spring.
Yeah.
And I think
that's a fun idea. But you know what I'm thinking you're talking about? Christmas too. That's what I
right? I'm in too. I'm in for Christmas too.
There you go. Nice.
You just spent 5 minutes telling me what a great idea. You jumped on his dick so quick.
The second you said Christmas too.
That's a better idea.
We're not just moving it so easily.
We're getting more presents.
I mean, I'm in.
By the way, I'm aware of my awful laugh. I just don't want. If that's an elephant in the room, I know that I laugh like a screeching hyena.
I've been waiting 10 years for someone to acknowledge it.
No, I decided a while ago. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to lean into my laugh because so no one has as bad a laugh as me, and so it'll make them feel better about their own laugh.
Yeah.
There's no way. It's like I'm the ugliest duckling. So like a little bit of an ugly duckling will be like, oh, this is not so bad.
Why don't you focus on making me feel better about my holiday idea?
Christmas too.
Just for the record, somebody in Hollywood said Break Into was a good idea too. All right.
Oh shit. So all right, so we got movies, Christmas movies. What's your favorite movie? What's your guilty pleasure movie?
Start with the guilty pleasures. Those are the
Shit.
best.
Do you want to know my guilty pleasure Christmas movie? It's the Care Bears Nutcracker.
Holy shit! I didn't think we were going that far. Okay. Oh God, get out of my house! All right. No, that's all
We'd
right.
like to thank Chuck and Brad for coming on tonight.
Happy to be here.
Care Bears Nutcracker. What a pile of dog shit. I love it so much. I don't know why. I just must have watched it at the right time when I was a kid and loving Christmas or whatever. Yeah. And it just hit me at the right moment. And maybe even I was like, whatever. And then like the next year, for some reason, I saw it again. And now it's just built into me as something I think about. And it's absolutely terrible.
Yeah. No, that's cool because I feel great about mine now.
I just love that he had to watch it to know that the Care Bears Nutcracker was going to be terrible.
I watched it 2 years ago, and I was like, what the fuck? I was so, oh, man, it surprised me.
Don't believe what your parents tell you. Sometimes books can be judged.
Along those lines, as a kid, I had read the novelization. Maybe it started as a book first. It's called The Best Christmas Pageant Ever.
It's also not. Yeah, it's not great.
And then it was made into like a TV movie starring, I think, Loretta Swit or somebody like that. And it did not hold up to what I remembered from reading when I was 10 years old.
You were talking about this for a while. You're like, oh, the best Christmas pageant ever. You've mentioned it to me. Then we watched it one year, and I like barely could stay awake.
I was so embarrassed to have you watch it, and I'm like, the book is better.
There's two things
when you're in elementary school.
There's two things that could have used Care Bears.
Yep.
Nutcrackers.
Did you admit this in elementary school? Because something tells me nutcracking wasn't an issue.
Yeah, that's my guilty pleasure. The best Christmas pageant ever.
What about you, Mike? Calm down over there.
No, you mean before Christmas, man. Guaranteed.
That's a guilty pleasure?
That's a guilty pleasure.
Wow. That is an artful movie.
But that's what I have that as
one of your favorites.
Oh, yeah,
I know. That's why I picked it as a guilty pleasure.
Dude, no guilt there. That movie is
awesome.
Beautifully done.
It's beautifully done. Definitely.
And I'm not a big fan of Tim Robbins.
Yeah.
Tim Burton.
I'm Tim Burton. I'm
Tim
sorry.
Robbins.
Tim Robbins. Him either. Fuck him.
Shawshank.
Wait, is it a guilty pleasure because like you're attracted to Oogie Boogie and you're like,
yeah, definitely. I feel guilty every time I see him.
For a burlap sack full of bugs.
You pull the blanket a little bit more close.
Every time he watches it, he's got a box of Kleenex on the side of it.
I'm just jealous because I kind of look like him.
I saw a cockroach earlier.
Oh, stick around. You're going to see a lot more.
Oh, man. Now, me is Jingle All the Way.
Yeah, that's a great one. Oh, awesome.
It's so ridiculously bad and just like
terrible.
gimmicky and stupid. But I love it.
It's great.
I love it.
Oh, it's great. It's great. Nightmare Before Christmas is so good. I can't believe you said that.
Yeah.
That's a real guilty pleasure one. Because I agree with you, and it's great. It's so fun. It's so Christmas.
stirring the pot a
gimmicky
little
and cry, but I just watched it like 2 or 3 days ago. It was on, and I caught the second half of it, and I'm like,
It feels like coming
It's
home.
fun. It's fun. Yeah, it's fun.
They fit like old socks. I mean, mine's a very Brady Christmas.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go, yeah.
I mean, how does it get any better than Mike Brady being buried under tons of steel at the end of the movie, but Carol Brady's lilting voice singing "O Come All Ye Faithful" just gives him the strength to lift those girders and emerge with nary a drop of dust. And he comes out, and they go back and they eat turkey, and then they find out that Bobby's been racing cars all these years instead of blowing their college tuition. Because they're the Bradys.
That's funny.
The other one I had was, it's not really a guilty pleasure because it's a fantastic movie, but at this table it's guilty, is Love Actually.
Oh, I love
that movie's fantastic.
I can't say it. I've never seen it just because I was like, I'm not going to watch that. It says Love Actually. I'm like,
exactly. I don't think I've ever seen it either.
And my wife's like, yeah, let's watch that. Like,
it's got Sheriff Rick from The Walking Dead in it. And arguably the most notorious scene in the movie is Sheriff Rick, where basically his best friend is married to Keira Knightley.
Yep.
And he goes up to her and he says, hey, listen, I can't be friends with you, but I want to bang you. And so I'm going to show up on Christmas Eve outside your door and hold up a bunch of cards that I made handwritten and assume that your husband, my best friend, isn't going to come down those steps and see me trying to molest you on Christmas Eve. They did a little differently than that, but that's basically the gist.
Very similar.
No, but I got it because you said it numerous times, and then I've heard it from other people say that it's actually good. So I was like, I'll watch it But I was just like, I'm like, Love Actually, it sounds like a Hallmark movie. I don't want to watch it.
It is really, really good. It's like sad and sappy, but in a good way.
Yeah.
You don't like it?
I don't.
Really?
No, I don't
What
like
don't you like about it?
The only storyline I identify with is the little kid who wants to impress a girl in his class, and rather than be confident and approach her as he is, he's like, I'm gonna learn drums, and I'm like, that's the storyline I identify with the most. Where instead of doing the smart thing, he takes this overly complicated route because he thinks it might make the girl like him.
Yeah.
But the other story, the Keira Knightley storyline, I hate it. I hate it so much.
Oh man, what about
it's such a bad best friend. It makes me sad.
What do you think about What do you think about the girl who's taking care of her brother that's mentally challenged?
Oh, all right, that one's fine too.
That one's great. What about the older couple where the woman?
No, it makes me sad.
That one's so sad.
The Alan Rickman one.
Yeah,
makes
no,
me
it's
sad.
great. It's a great movie.
Brad, I got to ask you a question because
Yes.
I've noticed it. You've said a few things on the shows, on your show that I've listened to, and I tend to agree with you a lot. Like you watch that, and there's that love triangle that people will watch with, like you were saying, like he's trying to get her, and people are like, oh, it's so romantic, and you look at it the same way I do. That guy's a douche.
Yeah.
Like, and why is that guy down there pounding his ass right now?
Yeah.
Because he's an asshole. And how do you like that?
You know what? I don't know if
and I get like that with certain things.
I will say, I know you haven't seen it. I don't know if the guy's a douche. Isn't she kind of a douche?
Yeah.
'Cause the guy is basically like, I'm in love with you, so I have to step away from being friends with you guys.
Oh, all right. So
and then she kisses him.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah.
He's not like,
I
hey,
think
will
they're
you leave
both
him?
douches.
He's not even interested in attempting to make her leave the guy. He's just like, I have to leave your lives, which I think is okay. That's fine. What are you gonna do?
We had a discussion about like. And I liked the show. You know, a lot of people liked it, like Sons of Anarchy. And I watched it, and I liked it. You know, it was all right. I wasn't a big fanatic about it like everybody else was. But one of my main things was, and I've said it to you before, I watched it. I'm like, they're gun-running drug dealers.
Yeah.
Why are we rooting for them?
Right.
You
Well,
know what I mean?
it's all about how they
Happens
set
all
up
the
the
time,
protagonist.
Yeah,
Right.
no,
And
I know.
What they could have done in Love Actually is made the husband seem more like an innocent victim.
Yeah.
And they didn't. He was aloof and he was completely
Yeah,
uninvolved
true,
in
no,
her
true,
life.
Yeah.
And so
As somebody who's aloof, I identify.
But I get like that though, you know,
Yeah.
and I've noticed you've said a few things, and I'm like, I know what he's talking about. And like shit starts to annoy me, you know.
It's weird because like I do think it's like well written. Like it's definitely an entertaining movie. It just doesn't speak to me. That's all.
Yeah, that makes sense. I will say too, like sometimes with movies, I think that the main character doesn't necessarily have to be a protagonist. Like I like the movie The Devil's Rejects.
I do too.
And the movie is almost like an exercise in making the main characters villains. Like
Yeah.
you're not really rooting for them. You're not really like, oh, I love these
No,
guys.
you're not.
I hope they
You're
get through.
following them
You're
in
like,
the movie.
fuck these people, and you
Yeah.
just like the story and the atmosphere.
The story, yeah, but they
So-
are bad guys. You want them to get caught. You're dying for them to get caught. Yeah.
which is why the final scene is so great and
Yeah.
like so interesting.
I think in today's society we're so into anti-heroes now that I don't
It's
know.
hard.
I don't think it's really that easy to make a movie where you root against what is being positioned as a protagonist.
right.
you
Yeah,
know?
it's true.
But anyway, so anybody
Stone
else?
Cold Steve Austin changed everything.
Oh, well, Chuck, I purposely left wrestling out of this. But I got to tell you, I could talk for hours about why that man is the most important man of the late 20th century.
You know what my answer is for favorite Christmas movie? Any clips tape of Stone Cold stunning Santa Claus on a 2-hour loop. We're writing our comedy show, our Christmas comedy show with the Comedy Connection right now. And Brad, we were talking today. Brad's like, "You think we can work in the idea of Santa coming up and like someone either stunning him or him stunning me?" And I'm like, "I don't know, but I'd love to see that."
Funny as hell, man.
We may have met a wrestler that would be willing to take the stunner.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely,
Oh, yeah.
man. Definitely.
Brad's a wrestler that's willing to take the stunning.
I'm a human who's willing to take the stuff.
I like how he differentiates. Are you a wrestler or human?
One time you said that a clown wasn't a human. You did say that.
Clown wasn't a human.
Remember Boss's hot dogs?
I do.
You said that he
They're
wasn't a
different
human.
breeds.
It's not a human face.
It's a clown face.
All right, so let's go around the best movies since we're.
Are you the guy that keeps the show on the tracks and everyone
Yeah.
else does other stuff? And
Yeah,
you're like,
he
all right,
does.
all right.
Yes, yeah,
pretty much.
He's the rudder.
Yes,
Yeah,
he
that's
always
funny.
is.
Both Craig and my wife call me that.
Yeah.
All right. Enough with the horse shit. Let's get over with this thing.
Well, me and him will go off on tangents, and we'll just start arguing with each other,
Oh, yeah.
like the microphone's not even here.
Our podcast could just be called Tangents. That's what it could be. It's fine.
Squirrel.
All right, are we doing best
Yeah,
Christmas movie?
yeah.
Like favorite?
Yeah,
one?
and
Your
explain why.
favorite.
So you lead it off again.
Man, I gotta tell you, it's really difficult for me because the stuff that I love about Christmas the most is pretty varied, so it's hard to like put it against each other. Like if I was talking about, let's say, Muppet Christmas Carol, which I love Muppet
Really?
Christmas Carol, versus Home Alone.
Got it. One of my guilty pleasures.
It's so hard to like say which one is better because they're so different. But Home Alone is up there for me. Muppet Christmas Carol's up there, and there's a very little known Christmas special called A Muppet Family Christmas, and it's about all the Muppets go to Fozzie's grandmother's house for Christmas. Then the Sesame Street gang breaks down, and they're all there, and they go into this hole in the wall and this Fraggle Rock. And
Oh, with the big
Fraggles,
bus.
Sesame
Oh,
Street.
they're riding around the big bus. I
And it's
remember
like-
that one.
It's so nostalgic to me, and I love it so much. And everyone's together, and it's about Christmas. but no one's ever seen it. I mean, I don't know if it was a straight to the TV thing or wherever they put it.
Was just the TV thing.
Yeah, and,
See, I wouldn't mind. I would actually watch that right now.
Oh,
because of the nostalgia of it. Because I was a huge Fraggle Rock fan as a kid.
Oh yeah.
We interviewed a lady dressed up as a Fraggle at Comic-Con. Did you see her? The costume was spectacular.
Yes.
We did a panel for Bill Diamond. We interviewed him in a panel,
Yep.
and I think that there was a woman dressed as a Fraggle, right?
Yeah.
Was she dressed as the one with the red?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had her sing the Fraggle Rock song on the pod. And
I love
it was
that
fun.
song.
And the way Brad got her to do it, I couldn't believe she did. Brad says to her, he's like, because she's like, oh, I don't know. And Brad goes, hey, listen. He goes, you're dressed up as a Fraggle. Singing the song is going to be the least ridiculous part of your day.
That's funny. I like that. That's funny.
Funny because it was true.
And then
I
she
watched it the
immediately
rest
was
of the
like,
week.
okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And did
That's
it.
funny. So those are up there. But I mean, dude, Nightmare Before Christmas is up there for me.
Yeah. It's awesome.
I
love it.
like Christmas specials too. Like, you know, Rudolph. It's weird. Like Rudolph. Like I don't connect to it as an adult in the same way I love like Home Alone.
Yeah.
But in nostalgia, it's
Nostalgia,
up there,
definitely,
100% for me. It's like a
Well,
necessary
all
thing.
those
Hey,
stop
let
motion.
me rudder this. We have TV coming up later.
Okay, cool. I'll separate that. I'll separate that. So for me, got to be Home Alone, Muppet Christmas Carol, Muppet Family Christmas, and maybe Nightmare.
I
don't
stepped
know.
away for a minute. Home Alone. We're agreeing that's a terrible movie.
Oh, you
No,
motherfucker.
I've seen it once.
Oh, you don't know what you're talking about.
And I did. I've seen it once, and when it was over, I was like, I hate this.
Oh my god.
I wasn't
kid.
too much
Chris
of a fan either. That's the thing. I think that's what it was.
Two quick things about Home Alone, real quick. One, I will agree, it's bizarre that they're like, let's make a family movie about Christmas, and we'll end it with a 10-minute orgy of violence. Because that's what it is.
Yeah, no
And it's
doubt.
like stuff that would
That's right.
kill people. The
Oh,
stuff
but
that
the
he does
neighbor.
would kill them.
Okay, but you got the neighbor. And
Of course.
he hugs it out with his son.
Oh, I love it, dude.
Spoiler alert.
It's up there. I love it. But also, here's what's magical about Home Alone. They made that movie, and the entire house was built as a Christmas house. So the wallpaper is Christmas wallpaper. It doesn't exist outside of Christmas.
Really?
So it feels so much like it's Christmas because they did that. Everything in the house is green and red. Like the whole movie is like built to feel like a classic
like-
Christmas.
I know it's
And
a
I think-
meme now, and I'm sorry for interrupting
No,
you,
no,
but
no,
I
say-
gotta ask, like, what did this guy do for a living?
Chris Columbus?
No,
No, the
the
dad.
father.
Oh, the dad. Yeah.
yeah,
I know.
he's just gonna fly them all
Sailed
to.
the seven seas.
No, it was
Chris Columbus is the director. That's the name of the director of the movie.
I know.
I think it was the uncle who lived in France like paid for their tickets. And I in my mind it was always like international finance, and like he's just rich because of that.
Yeah,
They
but I
go
mean,
to-
to even afford that house in the Chicago suburbs.
Well, no,
They don't go to France in the first one.
Where do they fly in the first one?
Florida?
No, that's the second one.
But doesn't she drive back home?
Yeah, she has
No,
to fly
she-
back
she-
to like Milwaukee and then.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she has to fly.
Okay.
She hops right
Yeah,
between-
in one of them they go to
flight.
Florida and one of them they go to France.
Yeah, in France because
you
it's
were
Oh, yeah, Lazy
mocking
Compétent.
Craig.
there we are.
Oh,
So my
is that part
favorites.
two? That's part two?
Part 2 is Florida. Part 2 is Florida. He's right.
I think my favorite Christmas movies. I really enjoy Muppet Christmas Carol, but also every Christmas Eve I watch It's a Wonderful Life
He does.
by myself, and I cry.
And I've never watched it.
Never seen it.
Excellent movie.
never
See,
watched
it's weird because I thought the movie was fine, and then when I worked at Walgreens for a couple of years, we were selling like little, figurine houses or whatever, and so to promote that, we had the movie on repeat, and I just got into it so much because it was a respite from actually working that I just stand there and be like, hang on, he's gonna say Merry Christmas movie house, hang on, and so it was just on repeat for like a month.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you're working the pharmacy counter. He's like, I need
Crying.
my pills. Hold on.
Hold on, we gotta see if he's gonna reconnect with his wife.
Wiping tears away.
It'd be so funny. This is very off topic, sort of, but like if we did our Christmas show and we did a running storyline that you wanted to say Merry Christmas movie house to end the show, and I wasn't going to let you for some reason.
Yep.
And then at the end, you got the go ahead to say it, and you said Merry Christmas Hoovy Mouse.
That's all the time we have.
So funny.
It would be.
That's great.
But yeah, those are my favorite. I don't know that they're the best, but they're the ones I connect with the most.
Well, those
definitely
are
cool.
classics.
Yeah.
Another one I like is Trading Places. That's a rare one. People don't really think of it as a
Yeah, it
Christmas
is.
movie too much, but it is a Christmas.
It
movie.
kind of
watched
is a
it.
Christmas. I mean, people think Die
No,
Hard's a
you didn't
Christmas
see it.
movie,
I haven't
so
really
fuck
watched
it.
it, no.
Why not
Awesome
trade
movie.
places?
Christmas, Die Hard is a Christmas movie. It was by the director, I mean, the writer of the movie. He came out and he said he wrote it as a Christmas movie.
Really?
Yes, he said that's why someone is sent down the elevator shaft, supposed to be kind of like Santa Claus, and why it's about the family getting back together. He's traveling to do it. Like there's a bunch of things that he said. I think Die Hard's a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
And I think of Batman Returns as a Christmas movie too. Oswald Cobblepot. How about Gremlins? Do you think Gremlins is a Christmas movie?
Gremlins is a
Yeah.
Christmas movie.
Yeah, of course it is.
I think Gremlins is a cautionary tale on don't ask for too much at Christmas. I'll tell you that.
He didn't even ask for it. He was just a stupid, frizzy-haired kid.
No, but they gave him 3 things. You had 3 jobs.
And failed at all 3 of
I will
them.
say the Christmas is very prominent in Gremlins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of Christmas
Well,
music.
the bar scene. I think that more than anything was Christmas. Is there anything better than a little town bar at
Yeah,
Christmas?
yeah.
No.
I think that Gremlins is a Christmas movie.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's a Christmas story. I know people
I never
say-
watched that.
You've
I know it's
never
great.
seen
I
it.
know. I gotta
You've
watch
never
it.
seen it.
This year
really?
we're gonna watch it.
You'll hate it, and you'll be like, "That kid's an idiot."
Oh, it
I'll
was
love
great.
it.
It's
No,
a great
everything.
movie.
I like it because, like I've said it to them before, I think when you see those movies, I like the older style stuff. For one thing, I like period movies.
Yeah.
So to see the 50s, for some reason, you feel like the 50s or the 40s.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Like in that time, Christmas was so much more Christmassy for some reason.
More of an innocent time,
You know,
too. You
I
know
don't
what
know.
I mean? It was
Yeah, it just seems
more,
like that
you
to
know?
me. And just I don't know. There's just something about it that the kid through the whole thing just wants one present. It's all he wants, and he's hoping he's going to get it, and it doesn't look like he's going to get it. You know,
Yeah. It
it's-
seems that way to me. It seems like it's awesome.
it's
And
the,
people
like
love
the,
it.
Yeah, it's
the
pretty good.
simple hopes of a kid at Christmas. That's all it is.
Yeah.
You know, and then all the little stuff in between, swearing for the first time in front of his
The
father by
characters are all
accident, and stuff
Yeah.
like
killers,
that. You know,
friends.
Yeah.
and
I
everybody,
wanna watch it this
characters are
Christmas.
Cool. It's pretty
it's
cool.
really
I
good.
bet it's
Fun.
great. All I've heard is good things.
It's got its moments. I'll watch it once. Why they show it 24 hours, I'll never know. I think it's because everybody likes specific scenes, if not necessarily the entire movie.
If you notice, I wrote in the thing, A Christmas Story. Go ahead, Brad. Tell me the plot holes. And he responded, already read them.
And I had to put my last name initial too.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
we got 2 Brads. I can tell you, it's not that they have plot holes. I mean, there's one plot.
Yeah.
But as far as continuity goes, you know how like on IMDb, you have like all the anachronisms and all the things that go wrong in movies? This has got a litany of them. It was like they had, you have 8 days and you have a bunch of Canadian preteens. Go make a movie. And that's all it was. It was basically filmed in Toronto,
Yeah.
set in Indiana.
Yeah.
No-
And then
Northwest
most of
Indiana.
their famous scenes filmed in Cleveland. And I only know that because I was there in that building. And
Oh,
it's
really?
Higbee's department store. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was cool to be there. There's
Yeah.
a little plaque there and everything. It's all good.
yeah.
And the house was also outside of Cleveland. Why not just make the movie in Cleveland? I know you shit on Cleveland people. I don't know. No, we'll do that for next Christmas. We got to
holes.
move along here.
Yeah. But what was yours, Brad? Did you say it?
I like the Christmas Carol, but I like the 1984 George C. Scott version exclusively.
Okay.
Okay, if you
a
go
good
with
one.
Patrick Stewart, I'll watch, but I'll sit there and look for plot holes.
How about does anyone ever listen to like Patrick Stewart like recorded him just reading the entire story of Christmas?
It must sound
A Christmas
fucking
Carol.
awesome.
And it's just like an audio tape, and I have that on my Christmas
Really?
playlist that I listen to around Christmas. It's fucking awesome.
I was going to
It's
say,
so
it must
good.
be awesome just
It's
because his
fucking
voice. He's got one of those
awesome. Yeah.
voices.
Do you know
Yeah.
what's even more amazing? In their heads, Patrick Stewart, Morgan Freeman, and James Earl Jones sound even better.
Right. yeah, exactly.
That's true.
Can you imagine James Earl Jones coming out? I hate my voice on tape.
Back to best and
Yeah.
guilty pleasures, Christmas songs, Christmas
Oh,
music,
shit.
because this is a time like I usually have it on in my car right when it starts. You know,
I'm just reading. Do your listeners know about your screen?
Yeah, they know.
Yeah.
They know.
yeah.
They have a big screen here. You got. It's so funny. It's just this. What's funny? Okay. What's funny about this to me is like Brad and I are like over planners. They definitely would consider ourselves that. If this was us doing this, because what they have here is this big screen with the topics and they all wrote their stuff, I would keep it secret from the other guys.
Well, that's what I've always
You usually do that?
said that.
I always keep a few in reserve.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what,
because that's
what I
more
normally
fun.
do is
We'll do it
mine are very
sometimes.
short. I'll write just quick little bullet points sometimes.
yeah.
But it
Not as short as
it
mine,
depends
but-
on the topic, because sometimes I will really
It's
only
just-
put one thing.
This is I'm saying this. I'm not saying this in a condescending way. This is so adorable. These lists are so adorable, and they're just like ours are adorable. It's so funny. I love it. I feel the exact same way. We're gonna have like not the exact same answers, but the same type of answers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
I see all the stuff that's
You
written. And I love it.
you spend all of your day working with words. You couldn't come up with anything else than adorable.
No, it's adorable.
You didn't want to. That was
First of
the
all,
word.
okay, ready? Here's
the
what
word
it
he
is
wanted
the
to
cutest
use.
thing I've seen in my life.
There you go. There you go. That's better. All right. Feel better.
All right.
I do the same. I do the same
boy.
thing. I have a spreadsheet of like, you know, like well, I'm trying to think of my most ridiculous spreadsheet. But I keep spreadsheets of like my favorite movies, my favorite Christmas. I keep spreadsheets just for my own personal use, and this is very similar to that. And I love it. I love it.
But I mean, so
Guilty pleasure
guilty pleasure. Yeah, stop
for
with guilty-
songs. Guilty pleasure Christmas songs. I don't know if this is a guilty pleasure. Alvin and the Chipmunks Jingle Bells.
That's
Yeah.
definitely guilty
It's-
pleasure.
it's- 'cause, I mean,
good
it's
one.
not bad. It's kind of a classic, and you'll
Right.
hear it all year, and it doesn't bother
Yeah.
you. But
It is Alvin and the Chipmunks.
You know,
That whole album is a classic.
yeah.
Well, I was gonna say because to me he does the hula hoop song. Like that's a
Yeah.
classic Christmas song.
Yeah,
right?
it
That's
is.
not a guilty
Yeah.
pleasure. There's that. I mean, I listen to a lot of alternative, like weird Christmas stuff. Like I listen to a lot of like punk rock versions of stuff that I love.
I do that. too.
Bad Religion did an awesome Christmas album like a couple years ago. It's so good, right?
Very good.
It's incredible. So there's a lot of stuff like that I don't consider guilty pleasure. However, like last year, 2 years ago, there was a mashup DJ who released a 12-minute like Christmas song medley. And the whole beginning is Mariah Carey's "All I Want for Christmas Is You," and up to the part where it goes, she's like, "All I want for Christmas is," and then when it goes to "You," it goes "You," and it goes to the Soulja Boy song. And it's all hip hop Christmas all the way through with the Grinch and all these different songs, and it's so well done, but it's like terrible at the same time, but it's really fun and really, really crazy. And that's probably up there. It's Mary X Mash, if you ever want to look it up. And it's really, really well done, but it's also really, really
See,
silly
I'm
and
open
crazy.
to that. I sustained this all last year, and I still believe it. I think Christmas music is supposed to be dumb.
Yeah, I think that's part of it, right?
Dumb
Yeah.
It's
and
supposed to be
fun.
fun. Yeah.
Fun, and it can be dumb.
Yeah,
in a good way.
Wicked. It could be extremely dumb.
The
Like
Sou-
Brad knows.
the South Park Christmas album is awesome, and that's pretty dumb. Like
Yeah.
that's and it's
Yep.
a good album. It's really, really funny.
Yep.
There's a lot of joke songs that are like builds on existing Christmas songs that I think are good. That would be my most guilty pleasure stuff. I'm trying to think of the stuff that people groan the most at when I put it on. I have two Christmas playlists. One that's Christmas songs and one that's Christmas faves. Christmas faves is 150 songs long. And like people are like, oh, and they're in my car.
I didn't even
like,
know
what
there
the
was
fuck?
150 Christmas songs out there. Holy shit.
Mike's whole thing begins and ends with Burl Ives.
Well, yeah, that's it.
It's because you're
Burl Ives,
probably
man.
dumb.
Burl
shit.
Ives, man. No, come on, man. Come on.
I don't like Blue Christmas. Can that be my answer? I don't like Blue
I'm,
Christmas.
I'm with you
Yeah.
on that one.
Right? It's a weird song.
It's a terrible song.
It's so slow. It's
And
too
it's
slow.
Elvis.
Yeah, it's too
Elvis
slow.
sucks.
I like the Sheryl Crow version of Blue Christmas. I don't know that I have any guilty pleasure Christmas songs. I think the ones I enjoy,
they
are,
are
I'm
all-
not going to apologize for it.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
That's
man.
right.
answer.
No, that's
Good
a
answer.
Good answer. It's true,
Definitely
because
good
I'm not
answer.
going to apologize for mine either.
He's like, screw
But-
off for asking. You
Yeah,
invite me
yeah.
down?
Oh, I'm ready for best Christmas songs.
I
when we
will,
get
I will
back
say
around.
real quick,
Yeah.
me and Brad have a thing where we basically say we don't believe in guilty pleasures because just be proud of
If
whatever
you,
the fuck.
if you enjoy
Yeah,
it,
that's
you
right,
enjoy it.
like,
man.
you know, it's just a fun
No,
way to look
I,
at it.
Yeah.
no, I agree. I agree with you on that. But
Yeah.
until you hear that, Brad, what's your favorite? What's your?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the words. Funky
Yeah.
and funky.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I told this story last year. I'm not going to do it again. I think the ultimate dumb Christmas album comes from a boy band when you're a young teenager trying to be way too masculine for a 13-year-old.
Nice.
And so secretly, like, yeah, give me Metallica and give me Slayer. Those are the albums you display publicly. And then, right around Thanksgiving, you break out the New Kids Christmas album. and right around Easter, you put it away. There's something about it. I think part of it was when I was 13 years old, I wanted to be in a boy band. Like,
Sure.
I literally, you could walk into a room and make 10,000 girls scream
Yeah.
at the sight
Yeah.
of you.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, of
Nothing.
course.
I
Of
like
course,
to
your
think-
hair is cool.
I like to think that you're like, you know how I could listen to this album all year round if we had a Christmas 3.
I'm thinking late August.
Just have one every month. Screw it.
If you have it on July 4th, I'll light the fireworks. man.
Yes, I'm in. Christmas 3 now.
What
I'm in.
about Dominic the Donkey? Come on, man.
Wait,
That's-
why do
that's
you look
a
at
dumb
me?
one.
Because I'm the Italian here?
That's
I'm just
you're a
quickly
donkey.
scrolling through my Christmas playlist to see more.
Yeah.
Dominic the Donkey is a good answer.
That's one that
That's a
people
great answer.
cringe at too
Yeah,
a lot.
that's a good
I'll
answer.
tell
It's
you
either
this,
they
though,
love
if
it or they hate it.
If you thought I grew out of the boy band thing, though, look at my number 2 answer. I like Do They Know It's Christmas, which is a
Right.
kind of a strange enough song on its own, but I like the soundtrack of Glee version.
Really?
Yeah.
The
I have that one on here.
I don't think I heard that one.
But I like by Bob Rivers, I Am Santa Claus.
Never heard.
And that's the
I did hear that.
Iron Man,
Iron
the
Man, yeah.
Sabbath Iron Man take.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Really?
Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
just done to that Iron Man
riff.
song.
Really? Is it
And
good?
it just starts off.
Yeah,
as,
it's actually
"I
really
am
good.
Santa Claus.
It's heavy, man. It's wicked heavy.
That's cool.
And it's just ridiculous.
Can
But
you
I
do,
love it.
I'll trade you my New Kid CD. Give me that. I think we need to get me back on track here.
Exactly.
That's so funny.
But then my other one too is, like you said, it's not a guilty pleasure. I think it's a really good song. Actually, a lot of people I know don't like it. Is the Kinks' "Father Christmas"? I love that song.
I don't know if I know it.
Father Christmas, give us your money.
Yeah.
Don't mess
Yeah.
around with
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
silly
Yeah.
toys.
Yeah.
Let's start off with Brad. I feel like we've left him out of this. What's your favorite?
Favorite? I have a couple favorites. Non-traditional. It's No Doubt's version of "Oi to the World," off of A Very Special Christmas 3. Then there's a band called Reliant K, and they have a whole Christmas album called "Let It Snow, Baby, Let It Reindeer," which is
Reliant K, as in Reliant K, the car. Reliant
yeah,
K. Remember
yeah.
those cars? Holy
and
crap, wow.
they have an original song called "Merry Christmas, Here's to Many More" that it breaks my heart.
Oh, I hate Christmas parties.
Yeah, that's
It's
that's
an
another
original
great
song on the
in
album.
there.
That's great too.
That whole album, the whole Bad Religion album, and then I guess as far as like traditional Christmas carols go, "Angels We Have Heard on High" is my favorite because all the Glorias. I like it. I remember learning how to play it on piano as a kid, and so I've always felt connected to that song. But I think those are
nostalgic kind of thing, too.
those are kind of the like my tops.
Yeah. What about you, Mike? What do you like?
Burl Ives.
Anything by Burl Ives.
I was waiting for that because we had a big
Silver
argument.
and gold.
Was it last week?
Oh, I love it. That's awesome.
It is cool.
I love that song.
Because
Silver and gold.
I'm all about Andy Williams, and I was yelling like,
man.
"Fuck Burl Ives!"
Now, I have to say, I have witnessed some really dumb arguments over the years. This might
got
be the
heated.
Burl Ives and Andy
dumbest
Williams.
Like
argument.
the next day, you both have like black eyes.
Yeah, right.
lips and stuff. What'd you guys fight about?
Burl Ives.
Two
Andy
equally white
Williams.
dead people.
Equally dead white people.
Yeah, they're probably not so white anymore, are they?
No, they're
Equally dead.
Andy Williams, though. I mean, that "It's a Holiday Season" is definitely. I love that song.
Do you know what I saw last year?
It reminds me a lot when I was a kid because my grandmother used to play it all the time.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
You know, so it reminds
Yeah.
me of when I was a kid and I was at my grandmother's house and getting ready for Christmas, and she would sing it like while she was doing things, and I don't know, it just reminds me of that, and I love the song.
Yeah.
No, but last year I found out that Kenny Loggins had a Christmas album and it was called like Winter or something like that. I'm like,
Loggins.
Yeah.
You Loggins.
That'd be good.
I just want to know how he didn't name it Highway to the Manger Zone. I've been sitting on that one for about an hour.
It's worth the wait.
I can't believe that was great. You guys should do line of the show, like basically the best line in the show.
Yeah, that's a good one. Definitely.
Oh man.
Yeah, my favorite is "Baby Please Come Home." The snow is falling down.
Yeah,
I love that fucking song, and there's some great versions of it. I like rock and roll Christmas songs, like when there's like a distorted guitar, but they still find a way to make it feel like Christmas.
Classy with the nice.
Yeah, maybe with bells, maybe something. There's a
Yeah.
couple of them that are really good. There's some in Home Alone. There's one in Home Alone 2 when he's driving across the bridge that I think might have been written for it. I don't know. Maybe just recorded for the soundtrack. But that one's called "All Alone on Christmas," and I love that song. But I love big rock ones, so "Baby Please Come Home" is my number one, I think.
Oh, and of course, the senior discount Christmas medley.
Yes, we did a Christmas medley.
Oh, really?
Oh, there's 8. Oh, so our Christmas medley is fucking. I'm proud of it. It's Carol of the Bells, Sleigh Ride, Baby Please Come Home, All Alone on Christmas. Then Brad reads 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. This is all in one song in a medley. And then we go into Run Run Rudolph. And then Holly Jolly Christmas, and then All I Want for Christmas.
You have a recording of this?
Yeah.
Good. We're playing it at the end of the episode.
Yeah, do it.
Definitely.
It closed the Tell 'em Steve Dave Christmas special last year.
Oh, did it?
Yeah,
Really?
it came out that day too on iTunes. And I'm super proud of it. I wrote like a big like chorus part with like 4 female singers, and came out awesome. It's like
That's awesome.
probably our most ambitious
Oh, good.
recording.
Check that out.
It's
That
very
sounds
It really
good.
seems like I'm the highlight of it, though.
Yeah.
He's like, "Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house." You did a good job.
I'll say I went into this recording not
have piano
having
player on it?
a like any recording experience, and I'm like, I'll get this in one take, and it took me like an hour to get my 6 lines because Chuck's like, no, you have to say it in rhythm. I'm like, I am saying it in rhythm. He's like, no, the rhythm of the song. I'm like, oh, okay, well.
My own personal rhythm.
So he had to like mouth along with me so I could.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We did an intro like
But we
that
got it.
once,
We
I
got
think. Didn't we do it? Was that the one that I read? Was that Night Before Christmas, or was it something
Yes.
else?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
can't
It was like
remember.
you wrote your
Couple years
own.
ago.
Like, yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah,
Like
that is
that.
fun.
It was cool. But so we did movies, we did songs, television.
A more professional show would have put TV before movies and then movies to music because of soundtracks, but we didn't think this one through.
No, we
It's
did.
all right.
No.
No, you're good. You're good. Let's see.
Best holiday TV special and or in capitals. Very special Christmas episode of a TV. Now I'm a sucker. You know this about me. I am a sucker for the very special episode of any sitcom, especially from the 80s.
Sure.
Okay, there's lessons to be learned. Nancy Reagan will show up in your apartment. Okay, and then bike shop guys are just bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are things to learn from the night. They are, man. They did all sorts of non-Me Too stuff, man. It was bad.
Yeah.
So we learned a lot of lessons, but we also had our hearts warmed
Yes.
a lot by sitcoms. And so we'll go right back around the table. Chuck, take it.
I mean, the best one is hard for TV special. Like obviously Rudolph and Charlie Brown are kind of super, you know, frosty. Frosty all that stuff. You know what? I'm gonna go with this because I want some attention on it. There's a TV show. They do these 6-minute shorts on the Disney Channel now, and it's basically Mickey Mouse, like the traditional like 40s and 50s Mickey Mouse, mixed with Ren and Stimpy, where it looks like the old style, but they're wicked like gross and like they run around and it's very crazy. And they do just 6-minute episodes, and they did a Christmas special last year called Duck the Halls, and it's about Donald Duck not wanting to migrate and wanting to hang out with his friends on Christmas. We watched it last night.
Yeah.
So fucking funny.
It was crazy.
It's
Really?
so funny. It's
I never heard of that. That's pretty good.
know.
I want to check it out.
It's so fun. I'll send it to you. I'll send you that one. It's so funny. It's so well done. And I think that that's a great new TV special. And I'll say in terms of a very special episode, there's a TV show that most people don't know about called Nirvana the Band, the show. And it's about a band called Nirvana that named themselves Nirvana the Band.
Yes.
And they're like basically they're just like 2 dumb guys trying to do a bad band, almost like Tenacious D.
Right.
Yeah.
And they did a TV show season on Viceland Canada because they're in Canada, and it's so funny. Every episode is about them trying to get a show at the big venue in town. Every episode is like Matt and Jay trying to get a show at the Rivoli. Every episode. And I relate to it so much because for so long, for my band Senior Discount, we were like, we've got to play at Lupo's someday. We've got to play at Lupo's.
Yeah.
You know, that was a big thing for us for a while. And every episode. And then the 3rd episode of the first season is a Christmas episode, which we watched last night as well. And basically it's about, they're super stupid. They're stupider than like a normal character would be, where like they basically can't fall asleep before this Christmas parade, and they don't know why, and they flash back, and all day they drank coffee for the first time and have been drinking it all day. They've never had it before, and they're like 30, you know, whatever. And then at one point, right before the commercial break, one of them's thinking, and it's showing in black and white, and they're like, "Coffee, more coffee." It's going to smoke. He goes, "I know why we can't sleep. We're scared." And the whole thing is that they've made a makeshift float of their own band, and they're going to try to break into this parade. And it's great because the show is like improv, but also some stuff is actual like prank footage like Jackass, where they go and they just do stuff. So they'll be like, we're going to do a scene where we try to go to a bank and get $10,000, and they'll really go do that and try to and just film it secretly and stuff like that. And it combines the two things. But dude, the show is like, to me, like side-splittingly funny. And their Christmas episode is so funny. You can watch it without knowing anything about the show. Look it up if you can. It's Nirvana the Band, the show, season 1, episode 3.
Nirvana, Nirvanna.
Yeah, there's 2 N's in Nirvana in that part. And then the episode is called The Bean, season 1, episode 3, and it's their Christmas episode. And the whole episode is a parody of Home Alone, where they use all the Home Alone music and they have all the Home Alone parts, where like they see someone outside and like all the stuff, the same stuff happens, and it's super fucking funny.
This smells like when Sunny was funny. It's Always Sunny.
Yeah.
It's got that same vibe to it, just based on that description.
Yeah, almost, yeah.
It's a little bit less dark, but yeah, it's very silly. It's a little bit sillier. Like if you like Upright Citizens Brigade, if you remember that TV show, it's a little bit closer to something like that. Or maybe even like Parks and Rec, now that I think about it, in terms of
love
like,
that show.
So good. So good.
Parks and Rec is a great show.
The unbelievable amount of talent that came out of that show. Yeah. And I'd like to say, like, you know, even like Parks and Rec has an awesome Christmas episode.
Yeah,
there's a million TV shows that are great that have awesome Christmas episodes.
I think for me, you know, you mentioned Charlie Brown, of course. There was a comic strip in the 80s and early 90s called Bloom County, and they did a TV special of that called A Wish for Wings That Work, about Opus the penguin, and he wanted to be able to fly. It aired once. I remember watching it at my uncle's house like on Christmas Eve, and I was so excited about it because I enjoyed this weird comic strip that I didn't get most of the jokes in. But I was psyched about that, and I haven't really sought it out since. So it's possible it's the best holiday TV stuff. Also possible, like the best Christmas pageant ever, that it doesn't hold up.
Yeah.
Very special Christmas episodes. I see what Brad has written down, and I remember that episode super clearly. So I'll let you. I don't want to steal your thunder on that one. But The Office had the Secret Santa episode of The Office was amazing.
Yeah.
And that was the first one that came to mind. You know, there was an episode of Scrubs that I remember being a Christmas episode of Scrubs being really good. But if you were like, oh, what happened in it? I'm like, I don't know. I think a woman had a baby under a tree. I remember enjoying it when I saw it. But those are the ones that came to mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, yeah. The Office is definitely up there, guaranteed. They got a few good.
No, they did
Christmas
a few
ones.
Yeah, they had a few.
They got a few.
I like the
Christmas.
but that was the one
I
I
actually
liked.
watched that one today. Yeah, it was on today. But definitely Rudolph. I mean, just you know, knowing it's coming on, watching the commercial.
So,
Tuesday.
How do you feel about this controversy?
What controversy?
Well, because nobody can leave anything alone.
Anything else.
It's ridiculous, man.
It's ridiculous what's going on in the world. Somehow, I get the idea that the fact that Rudolph is only allowed to be a part of it because he offers you something. You know, like you didn't like him before and you wouldn't let him play, but wait a minute, let's use you.
Right.
And now you're welcome to be our friend. Like that's never been a good message for kids, at least not since I've been alive. But now they're saying there's all sorts of other problems with it. And it kind of goes in line with, you know, being sensitive and overly sensitive. You can't play baby. It's cold outside anymore.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's getting like out of control, man. The whole Christmas thing.
I mean, because I remember when Santa slaps Mrs. Claus in the ass as she walks by. No.
Wait a minute. That was a different movie.
Well, that's kind of what they're saying. Yeah. They're saying that Santa's a jerk in this thing.
Yeah.
And he's mean and he's abusive and everything.
Well, because originally he doesn't want Rudolph. He's like, we can't use him. And then he remembers he needs him because it's foggy out. He needs him.
It's capitalism. That's what it is.
Exactly.
Body shaming.
It's so funny because, like, you know, I believe, you know, we live in a culture now where like outrage is like fun and like it's a thing to do.
Yeah.
And if you want my honest opinion, I don't think anyone's actually pissed off about Rudolph. I think that was like a news story that was circulating to get people to react and talk about the news story.
Exactly.
Like I don't think there's actually someone out there who's pissed about it.
Yeah.
Right.
You feel like that?
No.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's.
No, I know. I see what you mean. They're trying to drum up outrage for it.
So if the Huffington Post puts out that article and people are like, "Oh, what the fuck? Look at this!" Then a million people are sharing the article they wrote, and that's all it is. I think. You know.
Hey, it's right in the name, Huff. I mean, they get everybody worked up.
But with me, I'd say Frosty is my favorite special. You know,
Yeah, Frosty's
I loved Frosty as a kid. Happy birthday! That whole thing I remember as a kid, that made me laugh so hard for some reason.
Yeah.
And every year I would laugh at it. You know, like I knew it was coming, but I would still laugh at it. You know, you know, just like he's so stupid. He thinks it's his birthday. You know? I don't know. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I love that. But Night Court. There was a
I never watched Night Court. I don't really know anything about it.
No. There was a Christmas special in Night Court where Santa Claus, they bring him in to the courthouse
So Night
because
Court
he was
is
trespassing.
fiction, right? It's
Yeah.
not real. It's
Right,
fiction.
yeah, it's
It's not
fiction.
like,
Yeah.
It's not like Judge
not
Judy.
like court TV.
No,
or
it was a
anything.
sitcom. It was a sitcom.
Oh, really? It was a sitcom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was actual. Like I don't know. I never watched it.
Oh, see, that sucks because Cold Case Christmas was mine.
I bet there's a great Judge Judy Christmas episode.
But and there's Santa Claus shows up in the court there, and they picked him up for trespassing because he was on somebody's property.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's there, and they bring a group of kids in, and it's funny too. They bring a group of kids in for vandalism or something. I can't remember what it was. There's a bunch of teenagers in there that are appearing before the court, and everybody just thinks this Santa Claus guy is nuts.
Yeah.
He's tied to the bench. But then he knows all the kids, and he starts talking about all the stuff that they've done, and they all start looking at him like, one of the kids is Michael J. Fox.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, so that's like one of his first appearances is Michael J. Fox, really young. But it was just good. He knows, you know, he knows he gives these kids like advice, like life lessons, you know, type thing. And the people, all the adults in the courthouse, all the judge and all those guys, you know, they start thinking, they're like wondering, he knows a lot about these kids. You know, like is he might be Santa Claus.
Yeah.
But then they're thinking like he stole files or something, like he looked at files or whatever, you know what I mean, type thing. But it's just
Files, more like pedophiles.
yeah. But the whole thing was, you know, based on the fact that it was Santa Claus, you know, and it was, I don't know, there's something about that episode I just really liked. I thought it was really funny and it was good.
Craig's all young. He's like, I want to go to court.
Just give yourself an enema in public. Sorry, just another special. I mean, it's a holiday episode that Chuck and I both love. Is from the TV show Clone High.
Oh, it's the best. You guys ever watch Clone High?
Not ever once.
No.
All right.
It's actually it's by Bill Lawrence, one of the creators of Scrubs.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, there's the two guys that wrote this were Lord and Miller, who wrote 21 and 22 Jump Street and the Lego Batman movie. Oh no, the Lego movie.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lego movie.
Yeah.
And they're awesome. They're super funny. And they wrote this TV show where it was an animated show that aired on MTV, and it was just about this high school that was made up of all clones of like Abraham Lincoln, Cleopatra, like all these famous figures in history. And it's all voiced by comedians, like famous comedians, like Jack Black's on it, Tom Green's on it, a bunch of people, and it's just this very funny show that's really really well done. And their Christmas episode was about how they were having a non-denominational Christmas with like all generic Christmas figures, and so instead of Santa Claus, they have Snowflake Jake, this Christmas pirate, and he has a candy cane instead of a hook. And like, they have all their own versions of like Christmas traditions that are just made up for this thing about how you put out spiced lamb and all this different stuff. It's so good.
You eat tacos and
they eat lamb tacos. That's what it is. Yeah, and spices. Yeah, but it's very, very funny. Clone High's Christmas special, super funny. That's a great one. Oh my god, we try to watch it every Christmas too. Yeah, it's very funny.
Even how about the Seinfeld though? The
Festivus?
That actually created it created a holiday.
Yeah.
Like people took it seriously.
Oh yeah, Festivus. I mean, there's so many good Christmas episodes. The Simpsons.
Just making sure I didn't just rob one of Brad's things.
The first Simpsons episode is a Christmas episode.
Yeah.
The first one is then they get Santa's Little Helper, and then there's awesome Christmas episodes after that. Friends has good ones. Parks and Rec obviously has
Friends
some.
didn't really do Christmas. They did Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving is the big ones. There are a couple Christmas ones though. Remember when Ross tries to get the Santa outfit and he can't.
The Maccabees.
Well, and he has to dress up and the armadillo.
The armadillo.
Come on, that's a great one. That's a great one.
It's just something about the way he says the Maccabees.
And it burned for 8 days or whatever. That whole thing is funny.
Schwimmer's underrated. He was so funny.
We just had a conversation about that.
I was just going to say we've said Maccabees on the show, and
I actually said how that the whole last few seasons were completely based on Ross.
Yeah, I mean the leather pants, dude. That's one of the best physical performances in the show.
We covered it.
Yeah.
It's become a paste.
Yeah, we just talked about that. It's so funny. We went into this whole thing about it. It was pretty good, though.
It came out of the hat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I will say I have a hard drive in my house, and that's where I keep like movies I have. And I have a Christmas folder with like every Christmas episode of every TV show that I like. It's just like tons and tons and dozens and dozens of episodes of Christmas.
Again,
TV
all
shows.
legally obtained. Chuck Staten, Main Street, Warren.
I will say I never really watched Happy Days. It's just a little bit older than like what I would have watched. But for Tell 'em Steve Dave, I just had to make like a documentary about Happy Days. It's one of the videos we did.
Yeah.
And they talk a lot about like Walt and Brian and this guy Frank was on the show. They talk a lot about the holiday episode, the Christmas episode of Happy Days, where I guess Fonzie said he was going to go meet someone or something, but really he was just having Christmas alone in the garage with like a can of beans or something. And watching just the clips, because I had to research all the clips and put them and insert them in the documentary. Just watching that part, I'm like, I want to watch this Christmas episode this year because it looks fucking awesome. It looks like it's really good. It touched my heart just watching that scene where Richie like goes back in to forget something. He looks in the door and Fonzie's just heating the beans, and I was like,
why is he eating beans? Okay, if you know anything about Happy Days, I know you didn't watch it, but most of the people at this table have. He spent 19 hours a day at a burger joint where he paid for nothing.
You know what? I think it was actually like ravioli or something like that. But it was heating a can of something in the garage.
But still, he could have gotten anything from Arnold's.
Yeah. Just went to Arnold's.
A little bit of takeout from Pat Morita in the window. It would have happened.
Yeah.
It would totally happen.
I get it.
Well, what about you, Brad?
I'm actually going to read it because I've just got to get this off. Growing pains. When the kid that was supposed to be like the cute Gary Coleman.
Oh, yeah.
Ben, he grew up and puberty was not kind. He had the real
Jeremy Miller was there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Real Kevin Arnold effect he had on his face. You know, it didn't work for him. Life has not been kind since either. So they decided, let's get a nice young actor named Leonardo DiCaprio. But how they introduced him on the show was basically he was homeless, and they accused him of stealing Christmas gifts. The Seavers, the wholesome Seavers, accused him, jumped to conclusions, except that actually he did steal them. But he did leave them in a garbage bag in the driveway on Christmas morning. So the Seavers, rather than just saying thank you, good luck, they adopted him.
Yeah.
And, so that was kind of a guilty pleasure because I really hope Leo DiCaprio, his actual life goes this way. Yeah. Like, I hope he gets rejected by Kirk Cameron. Yeah. And Alan Thicke's rotting corpse.
Like the trash bag is just going to be full of money.
Yes.
I know, right? It's like, oh, I don't need that anymore. I have different money now. Yeah. I remember I like watching that episode live.
Yeah. And there was only one other episode of Growing Pains I liked, and it was when we found out that Boner's first name was Sylvester.
Sylvester Stallone, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's about it. I know also Yogi's First Christmas, and that's it.
Yogi's First Christmas.
No explanation needed. Go check it out.
All right.
So our transitions are rough this episode. We're just jumping right into everything
I think we
else,
should do one more. What do you guys want to do? Do you want to do the best/worst Christmas gifts you've ever gotten, or do you want to get into the idea of the ideal Christmas? And I have the notes: be funny, not lame.
Yeah.
I think topic 5 is better if we're supposed to be funny and not lame.
Yeah.
That's hard. That's hard to come up with
that. Yeah, because it's more set to, you're like, oh, my ideal Christmas.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
It's hard.
Well,
yeah.
I wanted to do that one because I was laying some groundwork for a present I wanted to my wife.
There you go.
I was using this as a medium to,
That's great. That's a great idea.
but that's fine.
It's great.
No, all right. So, best worst Christmas gift you've ever gotten.
Can I go last because I want some time to think about this?
Yeah, I also need to think about it.
This is hard.
Yeah,
that's hard.
Go for it, Mike.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
My best guaranteed prize-winning cow.
You got a prize-winning cow?
Prize-winning cow for Christmas.
How the hell
My
did that
father.
happen?
Well, my father's got a farm. So
yeah.
Pretty much
So
grew
he
up on
didn't
a
even have to
farm,
travel
so-
to get you a cow.
Yeah,
There was no
right.
effort.
I know.
Hold on.
What prize did this cow win?
I don't know. That's what he told me anyway.
It's got a
That's what he
handwritten
told
blue
me
ribbon
anyway.
on it that
Yeah,
says
exactly.
best cow.
Craig knows my father.
I've
so.
known Mike's father for a long time, and I can explain to you. This is
was a piece
exactly
of
how the
crap.
story went.
Go ahead.
Mike's father's hanging out, doing his thing, walking around the farm. And his mother says, "Hey, you went Christmas shopping, right?" And he went, "Yes, of course I did." And then he walked out and he grabbed a bow, walked out in the yard, stuck it on one of the cows, and said, "Hey, Mike.
Hey, there you go.
Hey, there you go. You got a cow now."
There you go.
And it won a prize. That thing's the best cow in this whole field.
Hey, by the way, what a prize.
Yeah. Because his father would sell you any one of those cows. If you went to his house and
guaranteed.
hung out with his father, you'd leave with the cow.
Wow.
Or chicken,
You'd be
or
like, "Shit,
something.
I bought a cow."
But the worst gift was probably a bull too, because we ended up.
This thing's got a dick.
It got, hey, this
It's the same present.
I've been drinking that milk every day for weeks.
I was hoping you would have
Get
known
strong. Get strong.
Low hanging fruit.
We had to that
It's
was
a bull
good.
scrotum. It's
That
not
was
fruit.
good. But
It's always the sweetest.
My original joke was that the bull didn't win any prizes, and that's why it's the worst. I got a prize-winning cow, yeah, and then this bull.
This good for nothing bull.
all it gets milk out of this thing. But anyway, it was the worst because, like, I remember a couple of weeks later, it got slaughtered. So
It's like, "Hey,
you
we
know,
need a steak."
hey,
Yeah,
whatever.
that's it. Get it out of here.
Yeah,
I would like
it
to be
was
at your
tough, man.
Christmases.
It was oh yeah, you should. Oh, definitely, man.
What do you
That's
think's
fun
in the
time.
giant mooing box?
They individually wrap the horns.
It's just a box with legs walking around. Yeah.
Knowing your
It's
dad,
always
he
fun.
probably shaped it like a car.
You know,
Put it in the
it's
driveway.
always a good time at my family's house.
Oh yeah, your
around
family's the
Christmas.
best, man. They're so funny.
Open the oven. There's a pig with an apple in its mouth. Freaking
Yeah, that's
sweet.
it.
You know?
Mike's got a stamp on it. It's still on the side. Don't kill.
Yeah.
Please, Daddy.
Burnt bowl.
Yo, it's like, Fido. It's close to
Oh, that's happened before. Well, not dogs. But,
Yeah.
We joked that Mike's dad didn't even buy him a real pet rock. Found a piece of cow shit out back. Wait till it petrified.
There you go. Me was the start the AT-AT.
Yeah.
When and I remember when I was a kid because that was like a big present.
Yeah.
That was like a big thing back then because that was expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hell yeah.
And I was never expected to get it.
That's the one that opened up, right?
They're expensive
Yeah.
nowadays.
Yeah.
And I just remember getting that and didn't care about any of my other presents. As much, I was just like, I just started putting it together. My mother's like, "Oh, you still got stuff to open," like get in.
I got the two-legged one, but that one was cool because it had the button in the back that made the
Yeah.
legs go up and down.
the ATST.
Yeah, that thing was pretty cool, man.
But I loved that thing.
I think
And-
I gave Craig one of those.
Yeah, I say I have it.
ATSD. Yeah.
Then the worst present I ever got. I hate saying it, but she's dead now. My grandmother bought me a jacket. Right?
I can see this on the board, and I'm so interested on the screen.
My grandmother says, and it was around that time. That time was very popular when the Jacksons made a comeback, and they did the Victory Tour.
Okay.
And at that time, I think I was probably like 7th grade, maybe 8th grade when that happened.
Probably around there.
So, probably wasn't the coolest time to wander into school wearing a Victory Tour jacket. A legitimate though tour jacket that my grandmother acquired somehow.
Legitimate.
No, it was. It was like an actual tour jacket that my grandmother acquired through somebody that worked on the tour. And she handed it to me and it literally was like bedazzled in the back. Oh, it said like Jackson's Victory, and it had like all these fake diamonds all down the sleeves.
Why did she get it for you? Was there any impetus?
No, she just thought it was because that was a big thing happening at the time. She
Right.
thought I would be into it.
Ask
You
me,
know, like
ask
it
me
was-
how I got the New Kids Christmas album.
Yeah.
My grandmother also right up on pop culture.
Just trying to get me the
cool thing.
the cool thing,
Yeah.
and I guess in knowing and having a connection to somehow to somebody that had worked on the tour, got me the jacket, and I remember opening it, and I'm like, fuck, I gotta wear this thing, don't I? Like, I'm gonna have to put this on and enjoy it. Like, I'm going.
So
out.
what did you say to her?
Oh, I said thanks.
That's what he
You gotta play it up. You gotta be like, oh,
yeah,
this is awesome.
it was great. It was the best thing ever, you know. And
Then your grandmother finds out you didn't like it. You were lying to her. He puts on one glove and slaps you.
So yeah, I remember that thing was hanging in my closet in the back.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, like
yeah.
I put other stuff in front of it in case any of my friends were over, and I went to get another coat. I didn't want everybody to think like I was a closeted Jackson 5 fan.
Yeah, right.
You should have called Chuck. He just would have burnt that shit down.
No, but it was, and like I said, it was the intent was there, and I loved her for it. But it was brutal. Mm-hmm. It was unwearable. It would have got me beaten. I would have got beaten. You know? So
That's funny.
But what was yours, Brad?
I don't want to get into it. We're running a little late here, but I know that
we're doing all right.
one year I got a bike and a skateboard, and I only now realize at 42 years old that my parents just wanted me to leave. And so on to you, Chuck.
I'll go. My worst, and this is also a grandma gift. One year, at my uncle's house, I unwrap my present, and it's a box of Honey Nut Cheerios, and I'm like, my grandmother is losing her mind. And so I'm like, oh, thank you so much, because that's what you say to grandmas.
Yeah.
And probably 20 minutes later, I was talking to my mom, and I'm like, yeah, Grandma just got me this box of cereal. I'm like, it's a good cereal, but come on. And my mom was like, was the box opened? I'm like, I don't know. And I went back and I looked. I'm like, the box was open. This is even worse. And she's like, look in the box, and there was $20 in there. And so it was just a cute way to deliver $20.
Yeah.
Did she want you to open it?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but like all the grandkids were opening gifts, and so like all the boys got cereal boxes, and I'm like, this is so weird, and I just didn't put it together. I was, I was like 11 years old or something.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
But it worked out okay.
Yeah.
And then best, I've gotten a ton of awesome gifts.
I know,
it helps being friends with the King of Christmas over here. One year Chuck got me like a pizza oven that you'd find in like a pub. And he's like, here you go. I know you like cooking pizzas.
Really?
A wood-fired stove.
Yes. He's got me, tickets to go see a bunch of stuff. And then I think about like, my RA's got me a Kindle one year. That was kind of like a going away / Christmas gift. And then like a friend got me, a dumb thing I often say is deuces kangarooses. Like it's meant to be dumb. Yeah. And my friend Katie,
so much.
Yes, my friend Katie got me like a travel mug with Deuces Kangarooses inscribed on it, and I'm like, cool. Wow, that's so much thought went into it. Like, yeah. It's I've just been really fortunate to have amazing friends at Christmas time. So
I've gotten gifts better than the AT-AT.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. But to say like, I'm going to pick this one, like it just feels like so many are A+ gifts.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's just that excitement. I remember opening that, because I've gotten some really thoughtful stuff that you're like, this is, blows things out of the water. But I mean, it's just when you're a kid and you open it, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game for NES. Like, I have video of myself opening that and like freaking out.
Your shit. Yeah. Exactly.
Same year, my brother got like a fancy calculator, and he was going through puberty at the time, and so like on video, it's him going, a calculator. Like it's like his voice cracks, and
that's good to get him a gift with a lot of syllables.
Oh yeah. and like I'd like to remind him of that every Christmas. Like,
I had one voice thing too. I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I actually got one of those rubber wrestler figures. Okay. And it was Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Nice. But I was going through this weird phase where I was a 5th grade kid trying to sound more Italian. Yeah. Oh. So I'm like, Brutus the Barber Beefcake. I've got like this meatball voice that I've never met. And there was the one Christmas tape they still have.
That's
funny. My mother has a tape. It's not Christmas, but my mother has a video of her telling me that she's pregnant with my sisters.
Okay.
Right. And because I have twin sisters.
Right.
And she approaches me and she says, I got something for you. I want to tell you about something. We got a surprise for you. So I'm like, well, and right away I'm like, what is it? And she's like, it's something that you've always wanted. And I just lose my shit and start running around the living room screaming Turbo for ColecoVision. and the game Turbo. And I'm freaking running around the living room. You got me Turbo. Jumping out. I'm like, where is it? Where is it? And then my mother's like, no, you're gonna have a brother or a sister. At the time they didn't know it was twin, you know. And I'm like, so no fucking Turbo? Like, yeah, like I wanted that, but that was like, you know, that was before Turbo came out.
Give it a choice.
Got a lot more control over the ColecoVision.
Yeah, I was
so
pissed.
funny.
You should go to your mom with that story now and be like, joke's on you, because they're still here.
Yeah.
You got me the
right?
gift that keeps on giving.
I still wanted the Turbo.
Should have got me the Turbo.
That's funny. It's funny because like it's hard for me to pick a best gift, but like one of my favorite memories of a gift that was like part of my Christmas was one year for Christmas. I came up with the idea that Jigsaw gave Brad a gift from the Saw movies, and so Brad opened his present and it was the tape recorder from Saw. It had a tape that said "Play Me." And it was like, dear Brad. Like, and it was basically like a riddle. And every riddle throughout the night of Christmas would lead him to another tape. And the final tape was like, basically that his gift was inside this stuffed cat that was named after his childhood cat. and he was given a scalpel.
What an awesome freaking gift.
It's a plush cat.
He was given an X-ray of the cat's head, and his present was inside it. And it was like, will you cut open your cat to fulfill your greedy Christmas needs? It was like, make your choice.
Oh my God, that's awesome, dude.
Scalpel, he's cutting
That
into
is
the
great.
cat's head.
And it's I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to play with your game. What do you think about that? And they're like, just do it. And I'm like, okay, but nobody take any pictures. And I like look down to pick up the scalpel, and I pick it up, and everyone's taking photos. And it's me like rolling my eyes
That's
and
such a great idea.
cutting
bro.
open this plush. I like. The plush cat is on my dresser and has been for like 6 years now.
That's
That was
awesome,
such a
man.
funny-
That's
That
such a
is-
great
That's
idea.
a great
dude.
idea, man. That's
That
funny
is
as hell.
cool,
I
man.
love incorporating Jigsaw
awesome.
into Christmas.
I love thinking I got real friends. This is what it's supposed to be. These guys got it right.
I'll say I think the email address we used was gettingjiggywitit@gmail.com. So throughout the night, I would get emails from that address.
Yeah, we were doing it secretly. We made that email address to give him clues about the next tape.
Oh my God, that's awesome, man.
I know we're running long, but there's a lot of funny creative stuff.
That's awesome, man.
We focused on creative gifts for like our whole like relationship together and stuff.
Sorry, just another one. We have a friend whose birthday was in mid-December, and we're like, all right, we're gonna get him a PlayStation 3 for like birthday and Christmas combined.
Yeah, this is like when it came out.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, we'll give it to him at Christmas. So
We were like, what should we do for his birthday?
we just gave him boxes of like, like 2 rocks or like a log.
He had a pile of presents that were heavy, and he's opening and it's just rocks and logs.
and then we're like, you'll get your gift on Christmas. Then the first gift, we're like, hey, it makes sense. So he opens it. It's another
More rocks.
It's so mean.
Oh, that's awesome.
We've done creative gifts like crazy. Like even our one of the things we do at our live show. You guys came to the Back to the Future show.
Yeah.
That started out as a Christmas gift, where for Christmas one year we came up with doing that with How the Grinch Stole Christmas for all of our friends, because we do a big present exchange with like 12 of us, and so we just told the story of Grinch like that with Brad's awful drawings and my narration for it.
Which is
so it started there, and it went really well. So we incorporated it into live stuff. We've done a lot of stuff like that. I'm trying to think. There's a bunch of them. I had a keychain with like a broken heart.
Yep.
And I gave Brad one side of the heart, and it says "Ride Together," and my side says "Die Together" from Fast and Furious.
That was actually in my Brad vent calendar.
Oh yeah, I made him a Brad vent calendar with 25 little gifts.
Oh my God, I want to steal this so bad.
Do it.
No, I can't. You're on our show.
Well, Brad took the idea and he used it for other people.
Yeah, I used it for a friend of mine at church. I got everyone to like write her nice notes. I collected them and put them and gave it to her. Her name is Watka, and last name is Watka. And so I called it a Watt Vent calendar. And then she did it for somebody else the following year.
Yeah,
and
so
then
we're
she
trying
did
to
it for
keep it
somebody
going.
else the following
That's
year.
actually really cool.
Yeah.
That's a good
When I
idea.
did it for him, it was like, I think there's like 25 days in it that you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think 8 of them were like nice notes from our friends.
Yeah.
And then, I guess 17 of them were gifts or
Yeah,
whatever
it was like a gift card.
It was like a gift card to Taco Bell. It's all stuff that he likes. That little keychain.
A promise to watch certain wrestling matches.
Oh
like,
yeah, one of the things that I consistently do is around Christmas I do Chuck to Brad love coupons. Like, you know how couples give each other like massage coupons and stuff like that. I do stuff like that, and some of them are real. Like we'll go to a I'll pay for a meal at any restaurant of your choice.
Right.
But some of them are just like insulting and stupid. I'm trying to think. What was
There's a like good for 1 week where I call you cool dude. Every time I refer to you, I have to say cool dude Brad without explaining it. And then
Did he go through it?
you know what? I haven't cashed it in yet. Good for the teaching of any one song on guitar. Well, that one's real.
That's a good one.
That's definitely
And there was what like good for one date with Gina. Please be courteous and stop at third base. Good for one time when you're about to bang a girl and I sneak in and bang her, so she thinks you're good at banging.
But so I do that every year, and I do them for like all of my friends. So we probably have like 100 of those coupons, of just random jokes here and there.
You should cash in on that cool dude right in the middle of your show.
I thought about it. I really and truly did.
Yeah.
You should
And then I'm
cash
like,
that in when you're banging.
call me cool dude Brad.
Yeah, so we do those. I'm trying to think. There's a lot of big creative ones that we've done that
Yeah.
are super funny. The jigsaw one is like up there, though.
one
That's
year
awesome.
he was like, oh well, it was a group gift. We'll pay for your tickets to go to like these 6 movies. And instead of just saying that, they Chuck photoshopped the posters of the movies to have like our friends in them or
the last
us
one,
in them.
Yeah, the last one was me, Gina, Lou, and Laura, our friends.
Yeah.
And we basically reenacted every single movie poster, but we also put like a continuing running joke in it. Like the first one was like, we'll buy your ticket to see the movie It. And it was the poster of It, the original one, but all the kids' faces were replaced with ours. And instead of the clown, it was Cousin It from the Addams Family. But then all the other posters referenced it. It had Logan, and it was Cousin It with the claws. And then it was the new Star Wars. And it's like all the people in it. Everyone was replaced with Cousin It. Yeah, I love doing that stuff. It's really funny.
It is. I mean, I've done stuff like that with my wife. Like, had my wife go, going looking in the yard for things.
Yes.
Little clues,
It's
things
the
like
best.
that.
Yeah.
I've done that and Photoshop. Like one year for a birthday, I took her to Las Vegas. And I photoshopped her face on Elvis.
Nice.
Where you're going, and it's her face on an Elvis.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so fun. Yeah.
And stuff like that.
That's
like
my
things
Christmas
like that's
card
fun.
every year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Last year I
was.
was John McClane walking through event or crawling through event.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That's
That's
right.
great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You got to have fun with it. I mean,
Yeah.
we have the tools.
Yeah, exactly.
We can make it better.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, so I think so. You guys, you got a show coming up.
Yes.
Let's plug the hell out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sunday, December 16th at the Comedy Connection in beautiful East Providence, Rhode Island.
That's right.
Showtime is 8 p.m. Doors are at 7.
It's called Chuck and Brad's Even Better Best Christmas Show Ever. Yeah. Because last year we did Chuck and Brad's Best Christmas Show Ever.
Yep.
So the only way to top it was Chuck and Brad's Even
Yeah,
Better.
yeah, it makes sense.
It's gonna be me and Brad, and as well as Jessica Lay, Derek Furtado, and Jeremy Furtado. And we'll be doing, a whole night. We'll be doing comedy on stage together, and they're going to be doing stand up. Jeremy and Derek and Jessica.
More information can be found at chuckandbradpodcast.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/chuckandbradpodcast.
Yeah. Do you guys know about the Instagram Buns and Bites? Do you know what that is? It's an Instagram that's around here, and it's this girl named Laura, and she has like a big hot ass, and she just takes pictures of herself with her ass with like food in different restaurants, and it's very popular. She's really great, and we did a sexy photo shoot with her. On Saturday.
Sexy is the wrong word.
In our own leggings for Christmas. To advertise the show, and that's going to be up this week too. So if you go to
That is awesome.
If you go to
I
at
can't
Buns and
wait to
Bites
see
on
it.
You're
Instagram,
going
to see us being disgusting.
you're really going to be nauseated by our buns.
We did post a link
to the show today.
Yes.
Awesome.
On
Yes,
it,
yeah,
and
that's
we'll
right.
continue. We'll plug it.
Awesome. I appreciate
Till
it.
the show
Yeah,
comes
we're,
around, and we'll be there.
we're trying to get people out. I mean, it's interesting.
I will. I think Brad might be closing on his house. If,
Yeah.
there
with
you
any
go.
luck.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that would keep me away. I was on the fence until you mentioned, giant ass and food. And I'm like,
So Laura is, just to give a plug to Buns and Bites, Laura is, she's doing this thing where it's kind of this alternative, step into like the food world where she's being very body positive, and she does a show on Go Local Prov, and she's super knowledgeable, and she goes around to restaurants and does like photo shoots with her and different, girls that work at the restaurants and girls that she knows that are models in the area and stuff like that. And they just kind of promote all the great food scene in Rhode Island. Because I love the food scene around here. It's a great food scene, and it's just like another way to bring attention to it. And she's
I
doing a
like
great
the
job.
butt scene in Rhode Island.
I was trying to be so nice, and you made it sexual.
I know. You were making me sound like a douchebag is what you were doing. I said fat asses and food, and you're like body positive.
She's so nice. No, she's great. She's awesome.
that's cool.
Yeah.
She's been super nice to us because it's like it's really like a thing that like we have no business being part of. at
No,
all.
no, not
And
even a
I'm
little.
like, hey, will you help us do this? And she's like, absolutely. This is the third time that she's helped us out. We did a photo shoot with her last year. And earlier this year actually,
Yeah.
and it was we were discussing it, and she was hot, which is the joke of it. And then we did another show, and she just did her own giveaway on her on her page, which is she gets a ton of followers and stuff like that. And again, she was down to help us out with a Christmas shoot, and we did that at Boneheads with some marshmallow fluff and chocolate sauce wings.
They're good wings.
They're
Really
great
good wings. Yeah.
And she's super helpful, and she's great. So follow her at Buns and Bites on Instagram. It's great.
Definitely.
All right.
We'll
Do we got
post
a
a
little
link.
housekeeping of our own?
Do
Yeah,
it.
housekeeping.
All right.
that house.
Real quick, you can find us on social media at NTS_podcast and all your major social media networks. And yes, we are on Instagram. We've stopped lying and we made it true.
Wow.
Additionally, if you go over to teespring.com, search for the Needless to Say swag shop, you can go buy all of our creative shirts. Basically, we've sold one of every type of shirt, and that's it. So we're really excited. We'd like to throw out a really big thanks to Chuck and Brad coming
Definitely,
on.
guys.
Thank you for
not
having
only
us.
for doing it
guys.
late
Thanks
on
a
a
lot,
Tuesday
man.
night. I love the fact that we've got you down as a captive audience, because even though this might have been a little bit of a shit show, we're airing this, so now you are obligated to have us on your show.
That's how it works.
Anytime.
That's how it works.
This is great. I think
Yeah.
that this went really, really well.
I think so,
No,
too.
I had a great
Yeah,
conversation.
definitely.
I had a
Very
lot of
bouncy,
fun.
very, very consistent. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean, jumping to new
Yeah.
stuff. It's
Yeah,
great.
like I said, the transitions weren't smooth.
No,
We're
they
just
were
like,
great.
You know what? We're
No
going
problems.
right to the
Dude,
next
no problems.
topic.
That's
But,
totally fine.
you
I think
know,
that's fine. I think
it worked.
if you watch the fucking news show on NBC, they'd be like, all right, and the next news story tonight, and it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
thing. You know.
All right, yeah, I don't think we got anything else. I think we covered Christmas pretty thoroughly
Yeah.
tonight. So with that, I'll just throw it to you guys.
Needless to say,
We said it.
Well, I hear those sleigh bells jingling, ring, ting, tingling too. Come on, it's lovely weather for us to ride together with you. Outside the snow is falling, my friends are calling you. Come on, it's lovely weather for us to ride together with you. The cold wind is blowing and the streets are getting dark. I'm writing you a letter, but I don't know where to start. The bells will be ringing, St. John the Divine. I get a little lonely every year around this time. The music plays all night in Middle Italy. The lights are going up on Old Rockefeller Street. People window shopping on Fifth Avenue, and all I want for Christmas is you.
Christmas, 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 Christmas
around. Well, I'm watching it fall. Not the people around. Baby, please come home. You better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa Claus is coming to town.
It was the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. When out on the lawn, there arose such a clatter. I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter, and what to my wondering, I should appear but a miniature sleigh, 8 tiny reindeer.
Run, run, Rudolph, Santa's gonna make it to town. Santa, tell him hurry, come, he can take the freeway down. Run, run, Rudolph, you're running like a merry-go-round. Said Santa to a boy child, what is it you're looking for? All I want for Christmas is a rock and roll electric guitar. Run, run, Rudolph, you're running like a shooting star. So have a holly jolly Christmas. It's the best time of the year. Well, I don't know if there'll be snow, but have a cup of cheer. So have a holly jolly Christmas. And as you walk down the street, say hello to friends you know and everyone you meet. Oh, ho, the mistletoe hung where you can see. Somebody waits for you, kiss him once for me. So have a holly jolly Christmas, and in case you didn't hear, oh by golly, have a holly jolly Christmas this year. Oh by golly, have a holly jolly Christmas this year. I don't want a lot for Christmas. There is just one thing I need. I don't care about the presents underneath the Christmas tree. I just want you for my own, more than you could ever know. Make my wish come true, yeah. All I want for Christmas